Oh boy, I need a. Okay. I don't have it on mine. I don't have. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Secretary, please call the roll. Mrs. Sanders.
Okay, Galbraith. Here. Mr. Toure
Here.
and Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mrs. Gasparro,
Here.
and Secretary's I, Dr. Hall.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did you hear what I told you to tell her? I said,
Good evening.
blah, blah, blah. I guess she saw it.
Before we get started this evening, I would like to say that there have been concerns brought to the school board regarding board member and Edward Anderson. Concerns on whether he lives in our area still. What I will say is the board has heard those concerns. There was a request for a special board meeting to investigate his residency. And I would like to say that there were some feelings that the board was not pushing to resolve this issue. Many have said that they've reached out to Mr. Anderson, and I would like the public to know that me as the board member I have reached out to Mr. Anderson and to question his intentions and to question whether he is going to fulfill his role as school board member. And I would like to say to everyone that I was able to speak with him today, and he has informed me that he has decided to resign his position. No, we don't need claps. Thank you. We don't need any. We don't. Thank you. You're right. None. Thank you. He has decided rightfully his decision to resign his position, and he has asked to do that verbally this evening. So we do have him on the line. Mr. Anderson, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Hello.
Hello. So at this time, I will turn the speaker over to you to say what it is you would like to say.
Okay. Well, first off, I'd like to apologize apologize to both my fellow board members and constituents of the area for my lack of communication over the last few months. My family and I have had a lot going on, and I've had numerous decisions to make about a myriad of different things, and I really wanted to see our district excel in every possible way. I wanted to help make that happen, but after much prayer, I've decided to step down and resign my position as a member of this board, effective immediately. Even though I still have residency within the district, I find it difficult to be as effective as needed in this season because of my focus right now on my family and on our ministry. I am thankful that I was granted the opportunity to serve our students, staff, and community. I pray that all of the aforementioned, including the BOE, would not lose focus and work in the spirit of unity to accomplish all that lies ahead. I will miss all of you all. I truly am thankful for the opportunity to work with each and every one of you all that are members of the Board of Education. I'm also thankful to have been able to work with the administration and the teachers, the staff. I've never had any negative feelings or issues with any of you all, and I appreciate the fact that we were able to work together even when we didn't always agree. And for those members of the community that are listening, for those of you all who were praying for my family and I appreciate that. For those of you all who chose not to, then that's your right. But I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I truly pray that as you guys move forward, that you all work together and just get the job done. That there will be no special interests, no other things like that, because all it does is impede progress. So I'll be praying for you guys, and I will truly miss all of you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the time that you did serve. We appreciate you for taking on the call of being a school board member. As we know, it's not always easy. You're not always popular. You stand to be ridiculed in many ways, and you stand to be supported in a lot of ways. So we know that your commitment to what you could give, we do appreciate that, and we appreciate you deciding for yourself that this was not a road that you wanted to continue. So we wish you well. I don't know if any other board members have any comments.
Just good luck, Mr. Anderson. Godspeed. Thank you for your service thus far, and we wish your family and you future success in whatever endeavors you choose to partake.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed, for your words of wisdom when I was sworn in. I appreciate it. I thank you for your assistance, and good luck to you and your family.
Thank you.
Ed, this is Janine, and I just want to say thank you for being my right arm for the short time that I was able to sit next to you, and I do appreciate all your guidance, and I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Hello, Ed, it's Mike. Say the prayers, keep the ammunition dry. Best of luck and Godspeed to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All righty, I guess that's it. And again, we wish you well, and we hope to be in touch soon. We're still people you know, so when you do come back in the area, make sure you visit us. I didn't know it. Did anybody
we're
else
all
have
still
anything?
family. We're all still family.
Did anybody else have any comments? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for serving this community, for the work that you've done. We so appreciate it, and as has been said many times before, our prayers are with you, and we know that God has best for you. Take good care.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You all have a blessed night.
Good night. You too. All right, thank you. At this time, we will have our public comment. We have Tammy Burnham, update requested on Will County State's Attorney investigation for the residency of Board Member Edward Anderson. Do you still desire to come forth? Okay, moving on. Next, we have Jackie C., teacher for AP English sophomore class. Okay. She did not.
She leave anything?
Next, we have Joe McNicholas, overview of the Bright Start College Savings Plan. Hi.
Where were you 15 years ago?
Thanks for having me. I'll keep it brief. I'm from the Illinois State Treasurer, and if you guys are familiar with the Bright Start College Savings, it's a thank you. It's a 529 college savings program. The best way to think of it is like how a 401k saves for college, or a 401k saves for retirement. A 529 plan, the Bright Start plan, saves for college. The plan includes you can deduct your annual contributions from your state income tax, and all the growth on your earnings grows state and federal tax-free. And finally, when the child wants to use it for trade schools, beauty schools, college, university, as long as they use it for a qualified higher education expense, which is tuition, books and fees, room and board, that is also tax-free. I left my information with Terry. If the board would like to do a small presentation before their next board meeting, we would be interested in doing that if you guys would like more information. But I will leave some flyers on the table in the back, if that's okay with you guys. Beautiful. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And last, we have Mary Bragg, American Education Week.
Good evening. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of our staff members, all of our teachers, all of our support personnel, our administrators for their educational leadership. It is American Education Week, where we recognize those in the classroom, those that give us the guidance to make a difference in the classroom. Being in education is not a job, it is a calling. It takes a commitment. Teachers that are out there in our classrooms working with our students don't do it for the money. They do it to make a difference in the future. And with that, I just want to congratulate all of our staff, administrators, support staff, who keep our buildings up, running, open, functioning, so that we can make a difference in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Bragg. Next, we have our good news report. Superintendent Cunningham.
Good evening. Ooh, that's right in the middle. It's November 15th today. November 15th marked the 7th annual official statewide observance of School Board Member Day in Illinois. This is the community's opportunity to say thank you to our local Board of Education and to honor their commitment to providing a local voice for your education decisions. When it comes to public service, school board members are some of the most selfless volunteers around. And we say selfless volunteers because they come up every month, they do the hours of meetings without any pay, no pay at all. They are your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, parents, and everything in between. They're often on the front line. They are often the frontline advocates fighting for quality education opportunities for every child. They serve without expectation of a paycheck in a position that requires long hours and continuous dedication to the betterment of the community. Everyone understands that school board members attend meetings, but those hours represent just a fraction of the actual time that they devote to being an educational leader for the district. They attend extracurricular events, support schools, They participate in professional development opportunities to learn how to be better board members and gain insights into new ideas and policies. And often, they are involved in other community events representing themselves, their communities, and their district. Many of these activities take them away from time that could be spent with their own families. Their sacrifices often go overlooked, but their work is of utmost importance. That's why this year's theme for School Board Members Day is Everyday Heroes. More than any other public servant, school board members must listen to the voices of their communities, then craft a vision, mission, and goals for their district to accurately reflect the desires and objectives expressed by parents and residents. They act as guardians of two of the community's most precious resources, the children's and TAC dollars, while working to create the best educational environment possible with the resources available. At times, antagonists are quick to criticize school board members without knowing all the details that went into the decision-making process. As a result, the efforts of the local Board of Education often go unrecognized and unrewarded. But the fact is, communities thrive when educational opportunities are consistently offered for all, and school board members champion that cause on a daily basis. November 15th, 2015 has been designated as School Board Member Day in Illinois. Help us join with others throughout Illinois in supporting our local educational everyday heroes. Thank you. And although they do not get paid, I do have a little trinket for them, for each of them.
All right. This is scary.
I don't have enough money in the bank.
Is there a dog sniffing?
And last but certainly not least. Thank you.
Send me a people.
Thank you.
Board members, any responses? We'll start with Ms.
Thank you.
Me? Okay. I just wanted to thank everybody. It's been a very interesting first few months. I never in a million years realized everything that I was going to have to do as a school board member. I want to thank the residents and the parents and everybody for putting their faith in me, and for the administrators for always answering all my questions, regardless of how silly they may seem, and for my board members, fellow board members, just for not getting too upset with me when I when I have questions, and for all your guidance. Thank you very much.
And I too want to say, after I think it's 6 years of service, I was at Balmoral this morning, and everywhere we've gone this week, young people have asked us, why is it that you serve? And so I just want to say again, money is not involved. It couldn't be. And whatever is in this envelope can't do it. We do it because we have a passion for the work that needs to be done concerning education. I think we certainly don't rival what educators and the form of teachers do, but we certainly put our hearts, our soul, and our energy into it. I was sharing with the young people today that in this week alone, we have given service to this board, and it doesn't end on the third Tuesday of every month. And that's not to say, look what we do, but it is to say that there is work involved in this process, and we need everyone's support. Criticism is fine. I'm okay with criticism, but I'm also okay with coming together and making a difference. If we can't make a difference, we're not going to progress or move forward. So you don't have to congratulate me per se and or this Board of Education, but support the process as a whole for the betterment of our school district and for our community as a whole. So I thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to be before our students, as I am often sharing with their experiences and learning from them. So it is a pleasure and an honor to serve before you in these 6 years, and I plan to continue serving in my role, continuing.
Just real quick, thank you, Superintendent, for a token of love. And we set the goals for you, and things filter down to the staff. And as the board goes, so does the district. And I would just like to end it by saying, no pain, no gain.
Mike?
Oh, sorry, my turn. I also was at one of our schools this morning. I was at Crete Elementary, and I had about 20 young faces sitting at a table with me. I felt like it was 1968, and I was in a promotion exam with the colonel and a few of the senior NCOs in my military career. They had some wonderful questions about why I want to serve, why we do what we do, about leadership, and they give me renewed faith in the future, because they're very bright young students that had paid attention and are going to be our future. We can't say that enough, as cliche as it sounds. So I do this because of the kids. I have no other ambition. I won't be running for any offices or doing anything else. This is what I'm doing for my grandkids and the kids of the future and all the kids in this district. So thank you for the honor to serve you.
Six months ago, when I took my oath, I had no idea what was involved. And it's been 6 months of great things, great learning. I've been to all the schools. I made it to 3 schools in 2 days. This week, Balmoral, I would like to thank you very much for your invitation this morning to treat us to a wonderful breakfast and great fellowship. Thank you very much. I've met many, many wonderful people in these schools, and their hearts are in it. You're absolutely right, Mary Bragg. They are not in it for the money. They're in it for the kids, and that's what we're in it for. So I reiterate what all my comrades have said up here. It's been a great experience. I retired from corporation after 40 years of service 6 years ago, and I think I put in more hours now than I ever did going downtown, and every minute of it is worth it. So thank you for your trust in me, and I hope I continue to do the job you put me in here to do.
I visited a couple of schools this week. Something different we tried this year, bringing the board members into the schools, and we were drilled by students who had questions. They wanted some answers. They wanted, to know a lot of things about us, and I loved every single minute of it. One of the questions that was asked to me by a little girl who we had finished asking questions and we moved on to another location, and she came up to me and she said, well, I didn't get to ask you my question. So I said, well, what is it? I said, go ahead and ask. And she said, so when you want to do what's right, but it will make some people upset, or it's not popular, or you're scared because of how people will react, do you still do what's right? And that question really spoke to me, because sometimes as a board member, you go home at night and you question, did I do the right thing? A couple of us have talked about, just sometimes you just wrestle in your sleep with decisions you need to make. If you know that something is bothering you that much, you know that you're doing an important job. And what I told her was, always do what's right. It's not always going to be popular. It's not always going to make everybody happy. But when you do what's right, goodness comes from that for you and other people around you. And that's one of the reasons why I serve. Yes, it's been 6 years, 6.5 years. Me and Mrs. Sanders actually came on the same year. And it's been a very long journey. And it's been long, it's been challenging, it's been ups, its downs, but I would not trade it for anything else. I would not go back and do anything differently. I love what I do, and I hope it comes across as such. I'm an advocate for education, and being a board member and being able to help influence some great things going on in our school district is just an awesome feeling for me. So it makes everything worthwhile for me. So I am here as long as God allows me to be committed to this district. And I thank God to be able to serve with some awesome people who are very passionate about what they do and what they believe. We have some differences, but at the end of the day, we come together and it's, what is it, Mr. Brown? Use up, unified.
Use up! Cut.
Okay. I started a ripple effect here. But I noticed we have some students in here. We have some in the back. Mr. Watson, you have some students with you, correct? And as we were talking, I looked back there. Do we have any other students? Okay. I remember when John Rogers did the board room that we have, and they put up the name of Crete Monee School District. And I said, John, we need to be reminded why we're here. Thus, those of you that have been in the room know we have silhouettes of children there, and that's where that came from. And I think even seeing our children here tonight is just a reminder we need to keep our mind focused on what this is about. It is about our kids. We just celebrated the Night of Leadership. I apologize to those of you that came here at 6:30. This meeting was scheduled for 7 o'clock. I don't know if we didn't get that information out, but we were celebrating our young people as leaders in our school district. And that in itself is a reminder of why we do what we do, why we're here as board members, why we ran for the seats, why we remain in the seats. Even Mr. Anderson resigning this evening, obviously, he made a tough decision to decide, if I can't give my all, I don't want to shortchange the school district, and I respect him for that. But I just want to remind our board members and everyone here, we're here for our students. We're here to make the best choices for our students. And again, let's work together to make that happen. And thank you, Mr. Cunningham, for the token of appreciation. Okay, we will move forward. Any board updates?
I was just going to bring one comment to the attention for future, because we do have 6:30 for public comment, but the actual meeting for starting at 7. So just in the future, we probably copied and pasted this maybe, right? So every year, you know, you're having school leadership. So it would always start
Yes.
at what, 7?
7
And the
o'clock on
meeting-
November. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
We'll
so
work it out.
noted. Okay, so the only board update is certainly to, as we celebrate Education Week, this school board, along with several other school boards throughout the state of Illinois, rather, are going to the III, or I hope most will go to the III conference. And this is not a conference for us to hang out and chill, but it is, as indicated earlier, a spot for us to gain insight and knowledge. I shared with students at Balmoral today that, you know, they asked me, do you guys have to go to training? Do you have to learn things? And we do, and we get a lot of insight from what happens at these meetings. For example, you go there and there's schools in the more impoverished areas than ours, and they're doing things at record numbers and record pace. So what's wrong with stealing a few ideas from what other people are doing in other areas. And this is a network opportunity to see exactly how we can better our technology, better our infrastructure, how people are doing it with less. And I encourage, I'm so excited that this year our newest board members are coming because it is an opportunity for learning and for enrichment and improvement. So I'm looking forward to the learning opportunity and the experiences that I have gained throughout many years of service. It lets you know exactly that we are doing some things right, because when you do share with other school districts, they say, you guys are doing that over there, or you're doing this. I remember the first year we came on, this school district wasn't publicizing the board meetings through the through a camera lens, and having shared that information with other boards, oh, maybe and I know now Salk Village does it. So there are things that we learn and we incorporate from other districts, as well as districts around us are incorporating ideas and suggestions that we have. So I just ask you guys, of course, to continue to support our learning efforts. We do have, I guess, some of you members on here. I think, Janine, didn't you just win an award yourself for your learning a couple of weeks ago? Both of you? Okay. Well, she wasn't there to know she was recognized, but so she was recognized. And then Dr. Hall received what, further master board status for your service? Fellows. Okay. All right. Well, and for the record, I think that we are responsible for yearly state mandated training. So I forgot to tell the young people that we have to do that, not a choice in the matter. So that's where we'll be this weekend. And then some of us are going to dip out for the football game. So you might see a few of us. You like
I hope
the heat?
we can
you
work
don't want to
that
be in the
out.
cold. I don't blame.
Last week, Janine and I had the pleasure of accompanying a few of our administrators to an IB middle school, where we were able to go in and see their IB program in action and take part in some of the awesome things that were going on in that school, and to get some ideas and talk with their staff and their students, who were also happy to share the great things going on in that school. And it was nice to come together and see these things and discuss them. And it made us, well, I'll speak for myself, made me excited about what we're bringing to our district for our children. And we know that the IB program has been successful with our Coretta Scott King Magnet School, and to be able now to bring it to the middle school, where all of our children who come through the middle school will be exposed to this program, is just an awesome thing. And so, you know, we're trying to do some really good things for our students, and to have them have the best educational experiences. And IB is a proven program. I know it's very popular on the East Coast. It's a program that is inquiry-based learning, and what I love about the program is it teaches our students to be aware of the world around them, and to be connected to that world. So that was a great opportunity. I don't know if Janine had any comments on it? Or Mr. Cunningham, did you?
Going over and having an opportunity to go to two middle schools that were fully into the International Baccalaureate program was outstanding. I think the first place that we had an opportunity to visit was their robot lab. And we went in and they showed us many of the awards that they had won for their robot lab. The students who were there actually explained to us how the course was run, how they learned to actually program, and then they learned to actually put the robot together, and then they learned to take the programming, the robot being together, and put those things together where the robot could do different activities. And after we walked out of there, the next thing we walked into was a 3D printer, where these kids had used different parts of a 3D printer to actually build a small ukulele. There was so many impressive things there, not just the parts of the learning, but to see the young men and women who were bringing us around, how poised they were, how they understood their school, how their school had an impact on them, how they enjoyed their foreign language, how they knew what they were going to do as they move forward. It was an opportunity for us to see how well IB works for students. Enjoyed it.
All right, thank you. Moving on, administrative updates, curriculum. Ms.
Dr.
Hurd.
Hall, just one last thing. I was getting confirmation from Mrs. Nash, but Mrs. Galbraith and myself have been working as community liaisons for the board on behalf of the upcoming community forum that is to be held Monday, December 14th. But more importantly, we have the newsletter. What is it? State of the District, right? So the State of the District, I don't know if I want to call it a newsletter. Were we
State of District Report.
State of the District Report. Okay, good deal. So with the community forum, it's only going to be successful if you send in your questions and let us know what your concerns are. Again, it's pretty similar to what we have here, obviously different, back and forth exchange, but we need to be able to have an opportunity to research your questions and have answers for you, not to sit in a room and not necessarily be able to offer you informative information. So we really need you to call your neighbors. I think I want to say you ask for it. We certainly support the need to communicate with you. So please, let's make this a success. We don't have to agree about everything, but we have to have the discussion. So let's do that on December 14th at Monee Elementary, incidentally, and this is listed on your on the school district website. But I was suggesting that the State of the District is coming out and it's going to be packed full of information. I think we have a mixture of information that is shared in and throughout the community. The school district has a voice, and that voice is going to be covered in this State of the District and just really where we are from the perspective of the school district. So I encourage you, that's going out to every single home in this community, to every tax-paying individual and stakeholder in this community, so they can see what we're doing and the successes that we actually have going on in our school district. So I encourage you to, when you see that, don't make it recycling, but actually make sure that you take a look at some of the informative information, academics, you name it. We want you to be included, and hopefully it will help you come up with a few more questions for the December 14th community forum. All right, that's it.
I do want to share briefly, tomorrow, I did mention the middle school. So tomorrow we are having our groundbreaking ceremony at the middle school. I believe it's at 9:30. 9:30 a.m. Okay, so that will be taking place at the middle school in the cafeteria, correct? Okay. Also, I just wanted to make an acknowledgement. Like I said, we had our night of leadership prior to this board meeting, and I did want to read an acknowledgement we received from U.S. Senator Mark Kirk. And it reads, "Dear Dr. Hall, thank you for the kind invitation to attend the District 201U Leadership Q&A, as well as the Night of Leadership. Unfortunately, I must send my regrets as I am unable to attend. I would, however, like to commend the school district for their commitment to fostering leadership within their students. These efforts will greatly benefit the students in all of their future endeavors. I trust both events will be memorable, and I wish for the continued success of the school district, teachers, and students. Sincerely, Mark Kirk, United States Senate." We also did receive regrets from Illinois Senator Toy Hutchinson's office, who she was not able to attend, but she did let me know that she would like to still have an opportunity to come out in the future and engage with our students. So. All right, administrative updates.
Good evening. This is a report on the school report cards that were released on October 30th, just a couple of weeks ago. Those are accessible via the Illinois report card site at illinoisreportcard.com, and we also have provided that link on our district website. The report cards are designed to provide a complete picture of school and district performance. The only difference this year is that because the state has not yet released the park assessment data from last spring, that data is not yet included on the report card. Even without it, the report card still is very information rich. There is plenty to look at. They provide detailed information about academic progress, district environment, about our students and our educators, and each of those categories has many subcategories, so there's a lot of information to drill into. In addition, they provide historical data and also some state comparison data. This year, they have some new things that they're reporting on the report card. One is the percentage of 8th graders who pass Algebra 1. Also, they have increased the amount of information that they're providing on teachers and administrators. And what will be coming in a little bit later this year is what they're calling a health and wellness metric. And really that's about the average number of days that students participate in physical education classes. So that is a new metric that will be reported on. The district is required to communicate the release of the report card, and we have done that by posting it to the district website. Our schools have put that information in their November newsletters. We did send out 2 school messengers each of the last 2 Wednesdays, and then the final piece is to present to the Board of Education, which we're doing right now. I would encourage our Board of Ed, our community, parents, students, and faculty to explore the website and really look at this information because it's very valuable and it is all public information there for anyone to see.
Thank you, Ms. Hirsch. And I would like to say it is intended to be a snapshot of our district and our schools. It can be a great thing. It can also be a little confusing because of certain terminology, but I'm sure if there's any confusion, if any of our parents have any confusion, they can contact their school principals to get clarity on what the information means exactly. So.
Absolutely.
And again, Illinois did receive an award for their format of their report card.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
It did. It was redesigned in 2013 and they've been highly recognized for it.
But it's a great site. You can find out a lot of information. You can compare schools, you can compare districts when you go on there. And it's a great tool for our parents to use to get more detailed information about our schools. Okay, IB Middle Years Program presentation.
Well, we just discussed our visit to an IB middle or 2 IB middle schools last Friday, and one of the things I'm not sure our public is aware of, but when Coretta Scott King first became opened as an IB school, and they worked toward authorization of the primary years IB program, we had every intention of moving toward the middle years program for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And that process actually did start at Coretta Scott King. In 2010, when we moved our 7th and 8th graders to Crete Monee Middle School, that process stopped because those students were no longer there. But what, I think as we talked about the facilities master plan, and we've now looked at the design for the addition to the middle school, keeping middle years program in mind, some of the conversations that we've had is that the impact of putting a middle years program at Crete Monee Middle School will allow all of our students, regardless of parent choice or parent involvement, the community in which our students live, whether we have available openings or a wait list, it will allow all of our students to have this experience. It will also create space at Coretta Scott King that will allow us to expand the primary years program. And because it is a middle years program, it will actually influence the academic programs both at the high school and at the elementary, because we will be sending students to this building who have had a different educational experience, and we will also be asking our elementaries to prepare our students to enter a an IB program. So the program itself, it's a framework. It is not a curriculum. It's, we still control the curriculum, but it's the how we deliver the curriculum that is different. It's a framework that emphasizes collaboration among not only our faculty, but our students, inquiry-based learning, and global citizenship, which are all skills that are needed for success in the 21st century. So tonight, we asked Kokona Chrysos, the principal of Crete Monee Middle School, to come and present. She attended IB training in Denver, Colorado at the end of September. That is a requirement to start the process, is that the principal attends training. And she brought back a wealth of information and put it together in a presentation for us. So I'm going to have her come up to the podium and provide you with some information on the IB Middle Years program.
I think we should go ahead and sit down in the seats down.
In the audience.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. As Laura said, I'm Kokona Chrysos. I'm principal at the middle school, and very excited to be able to come before you today and share a little bit about what we learned, what I learned over at the head of schools training regarding the IB program, specifically geared towards the middle years program, the MYP program. So IB likes to use a lot of acronyms, and I'm going to apologize ahead of the game. I'm going to try to make sure I slow down on the acronym use because I know it can get very confusing. But I want you to know that everything that that I present to you this evening really just goes back to the idea that Laura just shared with you. IB MYP, the middle years program, is really a framework where we are looking to emphasize intellectual challenge, encouraging students to make practical connections, and connect really their studies to the real world. So the idea of IB is more of the idea of how do you build around curriculum that we have, and how do we build that framework to be challenging and stimulating intellectually. IB believes that all learners have the following capabilities. They should be inquirers, they should be knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, caring, risk takers, balanced, open-minded, and reflected. All of these components come into the IB learner profile. These are components that would be taught and embedded within the framework in itself. Ideally, as we develop the program at the middle school, this would be a starting point for us. This particular learner profile would be a place for us to begin to take a look at what we currently do, how we do it, and how do we embed these skills so that all of our students contain all of these particular components of the profile. The framework emphasizes 8 subject groups. They give equal weight to all these 8 subject groups, basically. So as you look at the way it's developed, language and literature, mathematics, science, individuals and societies, that's I guess another word for their social studies course, physical education and health, arts, design tech, and language acquisition all hold equal weight in the IB framework. All of these particular course loads are required for 50 hours minimum a year for every student. Some of them are required to be contained not just in a semester course, but rather concurrently throughout the whole school year. And so when we talk about some of these, that's going to be a change for us, a shift. All students taking a foreign language in language acquisition, all students being in a design tech course, all students, regardless of ability, participating in the arts program, which could be visual or performing. So when we look at all this in terms of building a schedule and a structure and an infrastructure, these are all components that we have to take into play so that we can build an appropriate program. This also will affect facility use as well. Part of the IB philosophy is also service to the community and interdisciplinary connections. So IB has structured it so that all students in the middle years program have to participate in at least one interdisciplinary unit that involves 2 subjects, really to build that interconnectedness between the subject groups and help students build transfer among the content areas. Currently, the requirement is 1. By the time we get into this process, it'll be 2 a year, so 2 interdisciplinary units a year at a minimum. That's why it's really key to keep that whole team framework that we have in place currently at the middle school with interdisciplinary teams already set so that the kids have that environment already built in to be able to work on these projects together. After the end of 3 years of MYP, and the MYP framework is really a 5-year framework. It runs technically through the 10th grade. We can do a 3-year program or a 5-year program. Obviously, currently, because we would have 3 years worth of students in the middle school, we'd be looking at the middle years program to be completed currently in the 8th grade. At the end of 8th grade, all students have to participate in what is called a community project. The community project involves multiple students, could be 2, could be 4, could be a singleton, where they basically are doing an action research project. Things that they've learned, things that they're passionate about, what do they need to know, what are they curious about, and then taking that to fruition, starting from the idea to the actual presentation and making sure things happen. This component of service is a requirement of IB. It's partial to the IB framework and philosophy. It is at the core of what IB believes in as part of what children should be learning to do is be community members in service and give service to their community. So how do we do all this? MYP has developed what they call their approaches to teaching and learning. And ideally, what they would like for us to do is take our curriculum and how do we build these 4 concepts in there? How do we teach and learn in context? How do we build conceptual understanding? How do we show kids how to get there? So the roadmap, that approach to learning, what are those skills I need to get there? And then how do I become action-oriented and community-minded? So all of these 4 components form the basis of really that framework and the idea of how do we teach and learn in the MYP framework. And this is a little deeper in that teaching and learning in context. Some of the very specific areas that we would be looking at would be helping students identify relationships between different things. What is their personal and cultural identity? How does that relate to others in the world? Where are we in time and space? You know, what is it about science and technical innovation that I know, and how can I add to that as I'm a person in this global community? What's fairness and development, globalization and sustainability, and then basically bringing all these components together so students are doing things from an inquiry-based area where they're making transfer and they're trying to really understand who they are and how they can develop as an individual learner. Everything comes back to that concept framework. This is what we're doing now with Common Core. We build conceptual understanding in Common Core. It isn't about being able to throw out knowledge and tell you I know X, Y, and Z about this topic, but rather I know X, Y, and Z about this topic, and I'm going to be able to tell you how it's going to affect 3 other topics and what it means to me. So the idea of building that concept so that I could be able to explain to you as a 7th or 8th or 6th grader why it's important for me to recycle in a particular area of the world so that other people in the world are not dealing with this, and why that global sustainability is important to me as a human citizen. That's something that we're looking for kids to be able to do. Transfer information, be able to understand from a conceptual basis what that information is and why it's important. And I spoke earlier about these approaches to learning. Very specifically, it's those 5 areas: social, thinking, research, communicating, and self-management skills. 5 major skills, which in essence, if you do this well, think of the student you would be developing. Think of that freshman in high school who can come in understanding their social being, who they are, how they think, knowing how to research, understanding communication, and being able to manage their own skills and life set so that they can be productive in a high school and on to further, career and college readiness, if you will. As I mentioned earlier, community service is a very, very big component of IB, and they sort of bridge it through building what they call their community project at the end of that 3rd year of MYP. Every year, students are going to participate in some kind of service. It may be a large group to start with, and then build around that smaller group, and then finally the community project. But the idea of the framework is to help students understand that there may be something that they could do as a community member, as a member of the school district, as a member of the global world. what is it that they are passionate about, and how do they make a positive change, rather, in the life of others. This has come up quite a bit. How is this framework applicable to students who are learning different? Students who have IEPs or 504s are students, regardless, and they have needs that are individual and can be differentiated for. That's what we ask teachers to do now. Our teachers, build programs around kids based on their own particular needs. And the MYP framework is designed so that we are able to build a program for children who are learning different, that works for them, that provides them accommodation where they need it, and provides us curriculum modification where needed as well. We are required as part of this process to develop what's called an SEN, or a Special Education Needs Policy. And that is something that would have all this detailed in there. So what would it look like? We would be working, obviously, with the Director of Student Service, Special Services, Special Ed, Director of Special Ed, is that your title? Director of Special Ed, Mrs. Bellotti, and teachers who are practitioners in the classroom to really understand best what would be included in that policy and the framework so that the framework is successful for all kinds of learners. MYP, people have asked me, what is it that is really the key here? I think that MYP, for me, shows that we are producing active learners who are globally minded and can empathize with others, working in a collaborative, if you want to call it a framework, I guess, collaborative frameworks for the betterment of others. So the idea of IB is not just the idea that we're building inquiring students, but rather we're building inquiring students who can communicate well, who are effectively collaborating with others, and who are able to bring these ideas to fruition. They're going to be doers. We don't want to, we're great with a whole lot of great thinkers. Thinkers are great, but we want thinkers and doers. We want kids who know what to do next. Because a lot of good thinking goes to the wayside when you don't know how to execute those good thoughts. So, ideally, an ideal way to approach this would be, let's build those skill sets for kids where they have this framework under their belt and can come out and they can use all these particular skills in a way that's going to be positive and productive for all. And I think Dr. Hall mentioned, this is it's an internationally renowned program. It's globally accepted that the MYP program and IB in and of itself builds some very critical learners. Students are learning by doing. They connect themselves and their classroom experiences to a larger world. They outperform non-IB students in critical academic skills. Again, we're building concepts, and good learners have strong concepts. And they understand basically their role in terms of the global challenges we face and their commitment to act as responsible citizens. So those are some really good reasons to take a look at MYP. And this is getting to the nitty-gritty of it. So how do we do this? What are the implications? And there are lots of them. Trust me, even when the conversation started around bringing IB to the entire middle school, there were lots of questions. And so we started to try to outline for everyone what the implications are going to be. And we kind of narrowed it down to, obviously, the big key areas. There's implications for human resources, for contracts, for professional development. There'll be financial and time resources, scheduling resources that we have to consider. And so these are all things that we need to consider and may have implications for various groups and stakeholders in our district. What I want to make sure that we understand is, I think all of this, as we are working together, is a team. It's really a team project. We all have to have the same mindset. We all have to be on the same page. District administration, Board of Education, building administration, families, constituents. Everyone needs to be on the same page regarding when we bring a program or an idea or framework into a school district. We're only going to be as good as our weakest portion. So for me, in terms of the building and being able to make sure things are happening, we are going to rely heavily on you all, on the school board, on the district administrators, on the constituents, to really be supportive of the process and ask your questions and be part of it. When the opportunities come up for coming to parent meetings and having people come in for those collaborations, please come. Please do join us. We want to hear from people, because it's so important that everybody has an active part in this idea of what this MYP framework would look like at Crete Monee Middle School. We do have also listed an anticipated timeline for implementation. So far, we've completed 3 things on the tick list, which is good. The list goes on. I think there's a few pages of it. But I did attend that level 1 training. We have submitted a letter of consideration, and we did complete a site visit to Oak Park that the school board president mentioned earlier, and Mr. Cunningham, and that was very enlightening for those of us who did go. And that's actually a second visit. Some of us went and visited another school in Peoria last year too, as well, just to see sort of what's going on, what's the world of MYP look like. There are a lot of pieces to the process. Candidacy itself takes a minimum of 2 years to complete. That's not inclusive of the additional year of authorization that you go through. And so it is a lot of work. It's very time-intensive work. I see Shannon here, who's back there. I see that, and I know from being obviously a coordinator at the PYP program in the district, that it requires a lot of collaboration and time commitment from the people who are executing the framework. And so for us, and those of us who are going to kind of be in the trenches, if you will, getting this completed, we want you to know, and I want you to know, that the middle school staff is very committed to being with middle schoolers and love the children. And obviously, we're going to do what's best for the children. And so we want you to know and have faith in the fact that we will do what we need to do to make this process happen successfully. But we also know that that's going to require some support from everyone in terms of professional development, getting things done, which you'll see on this entire timeline, if you will, between application to completion. There's a lot of pieces in there, and I apologize for the small font, but we gave it in more detail to the board. There will be a lot of curriculum work that needs to be completed, a lot of time for collaborating that needs to be done, and really a lot of time for discussion and helping parents understand what their role is in the entire MYP process and how this is going to affect their children. So with that, I believe I'm at the end, and I will happily answer any questions if anybody has any. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Right. No, it's okay. So space limitations always put a crank onto your schedule. And so when we talk about scheduling students into multiple disciplines throughout the day, that's where it could get a little tricky for us, and if we don't have a suitable amount of space. So since the actual last vote, we have taken a look at, I have sat down and taken a look and see what kind of schedule would work given the space parameters. Things would run very tight, and we may not be able to have the opportunity to have kids in various programs as many times as we'd like for them to go in a certain week. Does that make sense? It would put a limitation on how much we would do. I think right now, and given what we just saw when we went to other spaces, especially this other district we saw, they dedicated locations for particular content because they want the entire, the child's experience in that space to be about that content area and all those connections. And when you walked in, the wall spoke to you in every one of those classrooms where you saw, if it was a social studies room, you saw those interdisciplinary connections. These are the themes we're working on. This is what we're doing. This is how it connects back to being an inquirer so there was a very much I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on there. When you walked into that room, you felt Like you knew what topic was being covered and what was happening. If you have teachers, sharing spaces all day long in and out, you're not going to have that sense of ownership of a space, and you won't have that sort of visibility that you want talking to the kids who are maybe more visual learners. And we have a lot of visual learners in our midst. A lot of it's all intertwined. The schedule dictates, the space dictates the schedule, dictates the teaching staff, dictates what we run or don't run. And so what I would hate for us to lose is the ability to run a very solid NYP program because of the space limitation, which is partly why, I kind of came to that meeting and said what I need to say, but I want you to think around that. Like if you're expected to run a program with 8 components in 4 spots only, that could be a little challenging to try to do. So I don't want us to go into this thinking, we're going to get all this done and not have necessarily the space to be able to do it. Does that make sense? Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm really familiar with the IB. I'm really familiar with IB programs and technology programs, STEM programs. And understanding the IB program, I understand that it's a lot of work on the part of the teacher. What type of supports do you have, and do you have for the teachers? Is it going to be time a lot for planning? Is it going to be, because I understand the program is just rolling out, also professional developments, and how do you plan on giving, preventing teacher burnout? Because this is going to be a huge, load on teachers.
It's okay. I'm happy to answer questions. So teacher collaboration is very near and dear to my heart. I currently, and I have a few teachers here. Yes, I agree with teacher burnout. Trust me. There's principal burnout too. I believe you. Believe you me. We all struggle with it. But our teachers right now, we try to provide at least one period in the day where they have obviously a planned time. We also are able to, because of our schedule in the morning, have some collaborative time. And right now there's one more period in the day where they are currently pulling students for intervention that could be used as a collaborative planning time. So ideally what we like to do is schedule students in by grade level. So each schedule, and there's three different bell schedules, if you will, right now in the middle school. If we could schedule kids in by grade level, that gives all of our 6th grade teachers the same time off, all of our 7th grade teachers, so that they have time in the day. And if we somehow build intervention in a different time, so I'm not sure how that's going to play. The paperwork's rough. I'm not going to lie to you. Paperwork is a lot of paperwork, and that's true. But they have a lot of paperwork now too. I mean, by the time they get their lessons plans in, and I mean, I see some of our teachers who are there till all hours, unfortunately, getting paperwork done, and they're there early in the morning getting paperwork done, and every planned time they're in there getting paperwork done. We have devoted all of our institute and half days to working on curriculum as well. And we are very mindful of this, which is partially why when we talk about building the process, really building and layering it in so that it doesn't feel as though I'm punching you in the head with this all at once. It does take time to build good curriculum, period. It took us many years to build good curriculum around the Common Core once the Common Core rolled out. And we're still working on it. We work on it all the time. We probably do more curriculum work every time we have a half day than you would believe. But that's what we do. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I know it's a lot of work, and we're going to have some training very specific to MYP that people will either go out for or people will come in to give. So there'll be specific MYP that's required part of the framework as well. And then individual teachers as they need with whatever programs you're giving. You know, as we bring different kinds of programs in, we do train the staff, and we try to follow up consistently over time. The hard part is maintaining the teacher, so keeping them in place. You know, we've been pretty blessed that we haven't had a ton of turnover, but I'll tell you, I mean, the idea of all this work is stressful to some people, and it may change people's perspective on whether they're going to be here or not. I know that part of that is building sort of that, not just the collaborative piece, but also that feeling of family and having everybody committed to working with the kids. And I'll tell you that, you know, the staff in and of itself currently as it stands is super committed, loves the kids, is there for the right reasons. Now you're bringing in more people, so now we're bringing this whole other grade level in, so which is why I'm sort of thinking as we go along, the time frame may need to be sort of altered to slow this down a little bit, because we do have a whole other grade level coming in, a whole group of other teachers who would probably be joining us who haven't been part of this family before. And so now you have to build that family again before you have to have trust before you can move forward. So that's a little bit of some of the cautions I have. We've thought a lot about it, trust me. And I know that it's come up a few times already with even our school leadership team, which is teacher-based, and people have some concerns. So there isn't a question for us about, you know, it's about making it happen in the right way, I think. And I think that everybody's super capable of it. I just think it's making it happen without drawing too much blood, if you will, in the fray. So did I miss anything? Mr. Trey?
Just a couple of comments. We're going to do this. I agree with you. Do it right the first time. Take your time. Don't rush into this and have to redo it, because that's just wasted time. Take your time. Don't be afraid to come to the school board and say, we thought we could get it done by X date. We really need 3 more months to do this. So please be very frank with us and take the time to do it right the first time so we don't have to do it over again. Another thing just for the community and the board to think about, we've got slots for about 80 little tiny munchkins in our early learning center. Some of the resources that we have, I personally would like to see balanced into that early learning center, because we're going to get a real big bang for our buck getting those kids on task at the earliest possible level. So, you know, we talk about the money for extra classrooms, et cetera. This is just kind of talking to the community and the board. Let's think about putting as much money as we can and bring as many of those little young minds in there that we can mold into future learners. So I'd like to really focus on that. And I know we'd like to do all kinds of things, and we have a limited amount of money. So let's compromise and try to do the things we can that we could get the best bang of the buck for all the kids. And the last thing I want to say is about 1 in 5 of our kids in the district are on an IEP, on an individual education plan. Make sure you please get that in place and get it right the first time. Okay, I don't want to see young people go into 6th and 7th and 8th grade and that are struggling academically now get farther behind because they're overwhelmed with what we're doing. I know you have requirements that you have to meet with the IEP and the 504s and all that stuff. Please take your time, get it right. Thank you very much.
Question back there.
The other thing is, if this is a 3-year project that they're working on and that you are going to start this next year, then our 7th and 8th graders are going to be dropped into a 2-year program that they work on. And then when they get into 9th grade, they're just like, oh, see you, goodbye. So now they've just worked hard on something completely different for 2 years. And then they're going into high school where it's back to the same old drawing board. So that's where my kind of plan, my thinking was that the rollout, if it's going out in the next year or so, are we setting those kids up then to just be thrown out there without a life preserver, without that? And again, the IEP thing. Oh, that was my other question. I did have one more question. Sorry, am I yelling in here? I wrote it so fast. I'm so sorry. It compared IB students to non-IB students. My question to that was, were those kids in there from 5th to 10th grade that they're actually kindergarten through 12th grade? What are we actually looking at when we look at the numbers? I get that the IB program is great. I've been a sub in the district for 2 years now. I've been at pretty much every school. And I love CSK. I love Balmoral. I love Crete. My kids went through Monee. I can't say enough about everything. I just kind of look at this as, are we looking at, again, I feel like I'm yelling. When you're looking at the IB program being better or showing better results, I'm not going to say better because it's not, I don't think that the teachers are going to do any better job than what they do anyway, just different. Are we comparing that 5th through 10th grade numbers because they've gone through IB 5th through 10th? Or are we truly comparing somebody who's been it for a year or two? Do you know what I mean? Because then you're not really looking at.
Right. I think it's a fair question, and I think we'd have to get the statistics specifically about MYP, but there are a good majority of the MYP programs that do not have a PYP feeder. So there are more MYP programs in the world than there are, I believe, PYP programs. So the feeders are not necessarily attached, if you will. And so they're really, statistically speaking, they're probably speaking more about the MYP experience. So from grade this to grade that, which would be sixth grade. Some schools are 6th through 10th. We'll be a 6th through 8th grade. In terms of the IEP, we are legally bound, and the teachers know this very well. Anything in an IEP and a 504, we're legally bound to commit to. So the idea of building that SEL, which is the framework that they want us to talk about, is really, okay, if my child is learning different, what am I going to offer in these areas that is going to be commensurate to what they need to do with their particular need? Yeah. We have that now, though. Yeah. Well, we have it now, and we have to do it now. And so the teachers differentiate. The kids that can't sit still stand up and walk around. They take 10-minute breaks. They walk through the building with an aid. I can probably name 50 things that we do. Right. It's not really a force. Mm-hmm. The content is still content that they would be having in high school. So they're still going to have social studies. We're just building a different skill set, if you will. It's not even going to be that far different than what we're asking them to do through the Common Core. It's very much, the MYP framework is very much aligned to the ideas and ideals behind the Common Core, with the idea of building concept understanding. And that's really what the teachers are doing now. And really what we're trying to build more is that differentiation, where a student who is very learning different can succeed in any environment they're in. So taking their own personal strengths and working with that, and not seeing the kid who's always talking as a detriment, but rather that's the way they express themselves, and they need somebody to understand. So that type of learning paradigm is really mostly where we'll probably focus on, because the teaching in and of itself, it's going to shift, but it's going to shift based on the fact of the learners that are sitting in that room, and how do you build each individual learner to fill those 10 learner profile areas, so that we have kids who are able to do all these things. How do you help them get there is really the question. And holistically speaking, you look at the kids, the way you assess students changes, the way, it's a little bit less traditional looking. It's much more standards based. Can you do this? How well do you do it, kind of thing. Much more rubric based. And kids who are learning different succeed better in those types of environments. So I think, to alleviate a little of your concern, I hear what you're saying, and we'll get there. And I think part of what we talked about was, how do you phase this in appropriately? Do you start with one grade level at a time and let the rest of the district sort of catch up somewhere if they had to? Just think about those frameworks, because I think good things are happening in every single building, and it's just a matter of bringing it all together. And maybe this is a vehicle that'll bring everybody district-wide. We're a unit district. Bring us all kind of uniformity, bring some uniformity, some ideas of that. Does that make sense? I know you do it.
We have IEP. There's
kind of a misconception, but we have IEP students at CSK. They're in the program, and they're perfectly successful because it is addressing individual learning and what each child needs. But they have. It's a little.
But again, they're going to go back to the high school where it's going to be back to this. And I get that Common Core, because IB is totally, you know, I have nothing against Common Core. Sorry, people. I really don't. I do think our children need to learn to think. But I think that it's just that whole, to me, I just can't get the concept of this tiny little space, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for the whole district. So you didn't have a build-up for it, and then after that, you're just kind of dropped off of it again. That's where I think I'm having the whole, I can't wrap my head around just that tiny little adolescence area that we're going to throw them in without something, I guess, without a life preserver, I guess is how I kind of see it. Because I know CSK does a great job, but that they've had it throughout.
I was just going to suggest that maybe it's Kim, you can make an appointment maybe where you can sit down to really get all of your questions answered, and you all can connect and spend the time to really go into depth about what she said. Oh.
Sorry, how many MYP programs are out there and how long have they been around?
Well, we did on our Institute Day, we did a presentation for our 6-8 teachers at the middle school, and we had all those statistics in the presentation. But we can certainly get it. We have it. No, it started actually high school. It started high school, and went backward. And just to maybe address a little bit more about what 6 backward. Yeah. Well, we'll get that. We have it. Just a couple of quick comments. The students at CSK, every fall, we have new students that enter at various grade levels. So we have students that come in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade that come from our other buildings, and they acclimate very easily into the curriculum. Shannon, would you agree with that? So and then the other thing that I commented on earlier, just very briefly, is because this is a middle program, it is going to influence what we do moving up to the high school and things that we're doing at the elementary. So we have already started talking with the high school. Well, what we're doing right now, we started this about a month ago, meeting with the high school around. So we have 2 concurrent plans going, looking at 6-12 vertically, because what we want to make sure is that when students leave the middle school, they have to come to something at the high school that's going to recognize their skills and ability and not just the same old, same old. So we're well aware of that, and we know that, and that's why I think this program will really be a driver, because it will drive change upward to the high school, and it will also influence some of the things that we're doing at the elementary. In fact, even now, what we're doing with the elementary, we're working on literacy units, and CSK is working on literacy units that happen to be their units of inquiry. And because we use a similar curriculum model to develop our units of instruction, the core of what we do in our regular program is part of the MYP and the PYP curriculum planner. So our general curriculum model fits into the planner that IB uses. So now we're able to share things across the board, even though schools aren't IB, but because we're developing units together. So we're looking at a lot of ways to make connections. All right.
Okay, so Shannon found that it was 68 years. IB has been in existence for 68, started in 1968. Sorry. See there, I knew it was a 60-something. It's late, Mr. Teray. I've been up since 7. We've been at work since 7 this morning. So we're trying to get this information to you. And then MYP has 1,150 schools in 101 countries. So it's a pretty proven program. And a lot of those schools are standalone MYPs. They're not necessarily connected to a PYP. Does that make sense? A primary program? Okay. All right. It doesn't designate in here because the program runs for 11 to 16-year-olds. So there are some number in that 1,500 are high school related. Does that make sense? Sorry.
I think I can make some people feel a little better. That district, they were told in July that they were becoming an IB school and they were starting that school year. So they didn't have a choice. It was kind of, pushed down their throats. They announced it in July. They picked some teachers to go get trained. I mean, it happened, and they talked about how, that was a challenge for them. And, just like any school district or school that's bringing in a major change, you're going to have some challenges and some questions, and parents are going to want to know, what's going on and what can we expect. Anything new, it's going to be that situation. I did want to say, when CSK started, I put all 4 of my kids in that school. One started in 2nd grade, one came later at kindergarten. She went all the way through. So I had one that did K all the way through 6. I had one that did 2nd through 6th, and I had one that only did 8th grade and one that did 7th and 8th, because they came in, the first year. My daughter was 8th grade the first year, my son was 7th grade, and then he did the 8th grade, the next year. So it's doable. If we had our way in a perfect world, everything would just align up perfectly. But I can, witness, just as a parent, that, bringing children into that program, and when you have have it solidified and everybody's on board and everyone understands the process, the children, it's very beneficial to them. And even to this day, my oldest is 22, and she still has memories from CSK, so it's a very good program. But thank you, Kakona, for coming out and doing the presentation for us. And I'm sure, like I said, anybody has any more specific questions, they'd be happy to meet with you. All right, thank you.
Is everything forwarded now? I see.
Okay, moving forward. Sorry. Student Affairs, Mrs. Spence? Dr. Spence, I'm sorry.
Was that student affairs by who? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What was that, Dr. Hall? Who's going to present student affairs?
Dr. Monica Spence.
I'm sorry, a little louder, I didn't hear. Dr. Monica Spence. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Okay, the following Freedom of Information requests have been received. The first one comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham. The request was for the breakdown of each subcommittee of the school board, their members, and chairperson names. An electronic response was sent on October 20th. The response included the requested documents. Number 2 comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham. The request was received on October 14th. The request was for a copy of any correspondence, including email, between Superintendent Cunningham and school board member Edward Anderson from June 1st through October 15th, and also for any correspondence, including email, between Dr. Nakia Hall and Edward Anderson from June 1st through October 15th. An electronic response was sent on October 21st. The response included a denial. There were no documents responsive to this request. Our third one comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham. The request was received on October 21st. The request was for a copy of the video of the regular school board meeting dated October 20th. An electronic response was sent on October 26th. The response included a forward to the district website where the video is located. Number 4 comes to us from Mr. William Morgan. The request was for a digital copy of the Crete Monee School Board meeting, which was held on October 20th. An electronic response was sent on October 26th. The response included a forward to the district website where the video is located. Number 5 comes to us from Ms. Shelley Parker of Data Research Partners. The request was received on October 20th for a list of employee names, district email, title, and campus. An electronic response was sent on October 29th. The response included the requested information. And number 6 comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham. The electronic request was received on August 5th, 2015. The request was for graduation rates for the last 3 years. An electronic response was sent on October 30th. The response included the requested information. The delay was we had to wait for the October dates, for the last year's dates to be listed in October. And that completes the FOIA request. A copy of the FOIA request will also be listed on the district website.
You mean a copy of the responses for
The
everyone
responses,
to
I'm
review.
sorry. Thank
And
you.
then Superintendent Cunningham, with relationship to one of the questions, can you, for the public consumption, the meeting that consistently seems to be requested, there was some discrepancy about what a meeting is. Can you describe the meeting for everyone to hear?
Okay, a school board meeting is from when the president starts the meeting to when the meeting is adjourned or held if it ends up leaving beforehand. It does not include anything outside of that. If it's, once you start, then you end, that's the meeting, period.
And so the accusation that consistently has been discussed that we altered a video, can you discuss that?
I can discuss that. No video was altered. The meeting was shown from start to finish, period. We had added a new system that's called Google that allowed it to run live, but the meeting, as we have them every time, goes from start to finish. Nothing else.
Thank you for that report. Moving on to the consent agenda approval. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gasparo. Any questions?
On page 52 of 132, at least that's what it's showing on my computer. Just a typo. Right there, I believe the word regarding was trying to be spelled right under where it says ISBE bullet, right under Christina Passarelli. See the ISBE? Investigation determined.
There's a three.
Yeah. Is that a new word? Re? And it's three guarding.
52.
Yes, the three. So we just take that out. Personnel, that's the personnel committee regular meeting minutes, not the closed session. Yeah. Okay, we good with that? Is that something that should be there? That's look a little strange to me. Okay. Just a little typo. And give me 1 second here. Under the business, just have a question. Let me get the, yeah, that's under consent, isn't it? Yeah, that's the personnel committee regular meeting that I had the question, and now I'm going down to business under the approved payroll. Let me make sure here, because it's showing up different on this computer than. Bear with me.
Did I see them?
Okay, I just need further explanation on page 55 of 132 under business, under approved payroll for November 2015. And this question is for Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, you have highlighted two numbers. You see that? Yes, I haven't asked the question just yet, but just getting ready to lead into it. Under the approved payroll for November 2015, showing on my computer is page 55 of 132. And the title of the document is Payroll Expense Summary Reports. Check dates for 10/3/2015 through 11/6/2015. And you have two numbers highlighted there or underlined in colors?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what exactly does that total? What is that total right there? Because it doesn't total what's showing in line, what's above that. I think I know where you're coming from, but it's still unclear to me. That is not close to $2 million.
Is that page is missing?
It says totals, and you have $2,436,000 and so on. But if you total up those numbers that's above, it's not even close.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So just, I know you have an explanation, but for the layperson that looks at this, it just doesn't jive. That and the total benefits as well. The two numbers that you have underlined. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
My print is a lot smaller.
I don't know if that's probably the total thus far in this fiscal year.
No, sir, that's the total for October 3rd through 11/6, and it's page 33. So it looks like that is the last page of a 33-page.
But it's showing up first. Is that kind of?
It looks like there are some
pages, and I don't have it electronically, I have the hard copy, but it looks like there's some pages missing from that. It lead up to that, because the pages aren't in order, other pages in order.
Well,
You know, I don't want to not approve this. If you have an explanation, you can clear, you know, we can clear it up. I'll trust your word on it. But if it's just a matter of pages being out of sync, and you can get back to me on it, or the board, I would appreciate it.
Oh, okay,
No,
here's page 33.
The pages, you have it as a hard copy showing the right.
32, they're backwards, 3, 33, 32. One.
The pages are not all here.
Three.
So, okay, we will correct it.
And you are, when I total all these numbers up, you are one penny off. Just kidding. Just kidding. I gave you a test and you passed.
This is one thing I didn't get a chance to look at.
No, it looks like there are some,
Page
the
missing.
Pages missing?
missing.
That's a lot of pages.
You're right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good catch, Ma.
That's my bonus check. I can retire now.
So we could send that out to you in the next weekly update, as well as have it on the December meeting if you'd like.
Okay, what's the urgency to approve this tonight? You saying
It can wait
this,
until
what's
next
the urgency in waiting until we get the right information? There's no harm at this point.
month. No, sir.
Okay,
These
so we
payments
could,
have already been made.
you say the payments has already been made.
Yes, sir. This is payroll.
Okay,
for
the payroll. Okay.
Past payroll.
Past payroll, that's right. This is for October. Okay.
So we
So
can
we
wait
want,
until
can
next
we
month.
remove this? Or what?
Yes,
What do we
sir.
do?
Yes.
Okay, remove.
So
Yeah,
amend it.
yes.
Amend the,
So
approve it with a motion to
remove the,
Linda. So what's this pleasure then? What we just saying?
I believe the pleasure of the board is to remove under the business section of the consent agenda, I almost said consent agenda, the approved payroll portion for November 2015 until we get the right documents. So we want to not vote on the consent agenda with this document as is. Yeah, we need to remove.
So we can amend the motion to approve the consent agenda minus the
Payroll expense summary report.
Payroll expense.
summary of payroll expenses.
Yeah, for 10/3/2015 through 11/6/2015.
Okay.
Okay?
The identified summary payroll expenses. Okay. We have to move to amend the motion? Oh, gosh. Do we have to move to amend the motion? I forgot. We need to move to amend the motion. Okay, so I'm tired, you guys.
It's all right.
Yes, I need a motion.
I motion that we remove under the business section of the consent.
Wait, we have a motion on the table.
It's already out there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, so we need any further questions?
Can I get a motion to amend the motion as stated?
Is that legal?
Is that the proper way to do it, Mr. Gleason? Needs to withdraw the mover. Okay.
Yes, you moved it. Galbraith. No, so he said the person that moved it. Repeat that. What do I have to do, Bill?
Move to amend it. Did you hear that?
Did you get that? Okay, I'm doing what his wording says.
Can we have a second, please?
Thank you, Bill.
Can we have a second?
Okay, so I'll second that.
Second by Mrs. Gasparo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed say nay. So the motion has been amended to include the approval of the consent agenda, agenda minus the payroll summary for, which month is it? November 2015.
And also, we probably need to include with the minor change too as well, right?
It's not November.
Yeah. Yeah. So you captured with the minor change too.
We all done.
To be clear, the motion has been amended to approve the consent agenda minus the payroll
Expense summary,
expense summary.
check dates from 10/3/2015
Check dates from 10/3/2015
through 11/6/2015.
through 11/6/2015. And I have a,
I still don't think we're quite there yet. If we're going to approve the consent agenda with the removal of that particular item, we also identified the minor typo. That's what I'm saying. So that's
typo. What was it?
in personnel, so that has to be approved. The consent agenda has to be approved with the verbiage with the minor typo. I would think so. I thought that's the way we did it. I'm fine if we want to. Okay.
Are we moving here? Do we need a motion? What do we?
I believe Janine amended her motion,
Okay, now we just need a vote.
and it was seconded by Mrs. Gasparo.
All right.
Please call the roll.
And now we vote. Right.
Fine. Okay. So, calling the roll. All right, Mr. Teray
Aye.
and Mrs. Gasparo.
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith. Aye. Mr. Brown.
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall.
Aye, thank you. I would like to take the time to read our donations.
Hey.
Had it up here, where'd it go? Well, I'm trying to find it. I have the paper. Where'd it go? The trip. What about it? I can't find it. What is? And it's not coming up. Okay, I got it. Okay. Let's see. Principal Aaron Lane would like to thank
Hold on,
Dairy
excuse
Queen
me,
and
Doc.
Crete.
Excuse me, Doc. I'm sorry. under the consent agenda, I know we passed it, but there was one other, and I missed it. I saw it on the curriculum for whatever reason. I didn't capture that under the consent. But I just had a question with the certificate of insurance, which is listed here. Can we have ourselves added as additional insured for the field trip? It's shown in here that the company or whatever that's been presented or presenting themselves to us is insured. The certificate of insurance was included. And I just wanted us to be added as additional insured under that certificate.
For which?
That was under.
For the theater field trip, is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
But is that customary?
It's not, or is,
No, this is what.
Did I miss that
This is
one?
what they sent.
This is just
When we
their
requested it,
insurance.
this is what
It's
they
not-
sent us.
It's not an event held here, so.
No,
how
it's
does
at
that-
ISU.
How does that make a difference?
and that was a conversation that I had with myself, believe it or not.
Because I know when we have events here, we require
That's
the
this one here.
organizations to list
Us
us as a holder.
Additional insured.
Right.
Right.
This isn't a certificate of insurance. This is an
No.
acknowledgement.
That they
They're
have.
Okay.
just giving us acknowledgement that they have insurance.
Well, maybe I'm looking at, I'm on page 87. Am I looking at the wrong thing here? I'm on,
For
this is
Illinois
the show
State
choir.
University.
What am I missing here? Are you seeing it? Page 87? Am I looking at,
They did include the certificate of insurance, but it does not list us as an additional.
that's what I'm asking for.
That's for the show choir one?
Right.
Yeah.
So that was under the show choir. And
Can you,
I meant, yeah, it should have been the show choir. I was looking, they right up under each other. That's under the consent.
can you,
What is your question again?
My question is, this event is happening during non-school days, right?
Show
This is on the
choir?
spring, right?
Okay.
Is that on the spring break? What responsibility do we have, if at any, during the spring break, when the kids are out of school, yet these kids are out of town on a field trip? Do we have any responsibility at all? If not, it's a moot point. And if we do, I think we should be added as a certificate, additional holder on their certificate of insurance.
But that would say that everything that our kids travel to, we require that organization to list us. I don't think that's the formality of that. I think this is just letting us know that this organization has insurance for their events.
And that's what I'm saying. If
I don't
there's-
think we, I don't know. I don't
that-
think we add.
I saw that as a flag and something for more clarity. I don't know if we want Bill to talk on that or, it's showing that they are insured. That's what it's showing. Our kids are gone away for a week, almost a week. And what liability does the district have, if any, during this week that the kids are away? And if we do have some liability, why should we not be listed on their certificate of insurance as additional insurance?
We have
insured
our
holder?
district insurance. We have our own.
If we can answer that, I'm fine.
Bill? do you-
Okay.
Right.
If,
Can he just look?
if I can,
I think we need to,
if I can piggyback on that, based on the board item, it seems as if it's no different than our students attending a track meet or a conference offsite. We don't require those organizations to report us as an additional insured, so I don't believe it will be required for this event.
Okay. So do we have any responsibility at all on trips like this is out doing when the kids are not in school?
Absolutely. You're not taking money.
It's a school district trip. We're going to have responsibility. We authorize the trip. It's show choir. It's the school. They're going to come looking for us. But when you have that set up, it's not that you're necessarily going to get an additional insurance when you send them to another place. Something happens to them at that place. It's now they're going to sue everybody, but
Okay, I would like, we can move forward with this, but just better clarity. Bill, when you get a chance, you can look at this whole scope and scenarios like this, and with the consent of the president to allow our council, just kind of look at this again, okay? Or we can move forward. If this is the way things has been going, it doesn't necessarily make it right, but I feel okay going this way, but moving forward, I would like to get a legal opinion
and more
on this,
official,
more clarity, because I hear
official
a couple things here. Okay? Dr. Hall?
And you bring up something, because I know that the finance committee has already started the conversations regarding facility usage and, what we require. This is one of the things, we require organizations to list the school board when they're using this facility, to list the school board as an additional insured on the certificate of liability. We had, this weekend we had the craft show. That's an organization. So with that, when an organization comes in and they use our facilities, if I'm incorrect, let me know. So for instance, with the show, now I'm saying show choir, the craft show, what do we require?
We do require a certificate of insurance listing the district as an additional insured for any organization that rents our facilities.
Okay. So again, I've been saying we need further conversation on that process anyway. And Dr. Williams knows I've been talking with her about bringing that for a while now, because again, we need to know, especially we have a board member who needs clarity. Let's have that entire conversation about insurance, what we're requiring, what's required by law, the language, or well, whatever.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
I believe you all are bringing it to the next finance.
Can I ask also that Dr. Williams, I'm going to take a wild guess here that it's not a cookie cutter approach. Is that correct? That different types of events, if we're going to have something like this craft fair, and if we're going to
No,
have
sir. No,
are they
sir.
all the same?
The procedures rather, as they exist today, state a certain amount of insurance that is required for any organization that chooses to rent our facilities. It does
But-
not have anything to do with what type of event you're having. It is a standard insurance amount.
Okay, for renting our facility, but
Yes, sir.
when we go to these field trips, which we've just been discussing, that's a different
For field
set of
trips,
responsibility required there, or different type of insurances?
the
I think,
liability
Mike,
is
that's what we're
completely on.
saying. We want to go back and actually research and get the answer to that. Mr. Gleason gave us what he thought, but he even said he would need to look more specifically into the contracts. So we've asked Dr. Williams to go back and get us the information, get us the answer to the question, which I think you're saying the same thing Mr. Brown was touching on.
Yeah, just, you know, it's a Sue crazy world. I just want to make sure we're covered, that's all.
And what I heard also was that you wanted this by December, our December meeting. We would like to have that discussed then. Is that what you were asking?
You know, I
for?
think the sooner the better, and it might be a twofold thing to take it to the finance committee, and it might require going to the policy committee and making a policy. I don't know. I just don't have the idea. So I think both committee eyes should kind of take a look at this if we want to have this as a policy in some manner. But I think that's going to be contingent on.
Yes, we have some measure of policy and then
in
procedures
place,
also.
and it
Yeah.
just needs to be,
And
because
beefing
one
up.
thing, with leading to what Mr. Teray said, he asked if it was cookie cutter. There are certainly, in my mind, as far as the conversations that were had in policy, rules for some and different rules for others. So it needs to be consistent. I understand there's a tremendous expense to the school district on some of these different processes. And I mean, I'm saying certainly we welcome the community to participate, but with anywhere, you have to pay to, for some reasonable measure. So if we're hiring staff, individuals, and that was truly discussed during the course of, I apologize, Dr. Rogers' tenure. Oh, well, we'll just let this group or that group go. Well, how do we explain that as a whole to organizations? You're an organization within the community. What's the difference? So just being transparent and specific about what it is so that everyone is clear about what it is. And if it's cookie cuttered, well, then let it be cookie cutter for everyone or not at all. But I think we would just do ourselves a disservice. Certainly the facilities, I think we don't get enough bang for our buck. We should be marketing this very building to make money, but we're not doing, that's not a part of our process either. So open it up. There are other schools that have people walking around them at 6 a.m. in the morning. There should be no cost. The building is already open, it's heated. So what's the problem?
No problem.
You might get people to buy into something you want to purchase if they know that they have access. They don't have to go to LA Fitness to walk around the building. Just a thought.
All right. Donations.
All these forms for these trips. I'm embarrassed to see all the misspellings throughout them. I think we need to do a better job of when we're making these forms up to send home to our parents and our students. Somebody's taking a look at them. They've all been out. It's been since August, so we can't do anything about it. But there are a lot of misspellings throughout all these forms. I've been reading them as we've had this conversation, and we've had this discussion before, and I'm going to bring it up again. We need to be a lot more careful about what we're sending home here. We're a school. We should be spelling things correctly. We should be using grammar. We should be using punctuation correctly. We need to take a good look at this paperwork we're sending out before it goes.
Yep.
I'm embarrassed. I'm glad my name isn't on it.
It is when you approve it.
It always is. Your name will always be on it. Your name is always on it. I want everyone to know that we run all documents through Janine Galbraith. Okay, donations for the third time. Aaron Lane would like to thank Dairy Queen in Crete for their 10 Blizzard gift certificates. Yummy. And she would also like to thank Tavern on the Green in Crete for their gift certificate for 2 complimentary brunches. Okay, great. All righty, there is a need for a closed session for the purpose, may I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel and discipline, employee discipline.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith,
Second.
Second by Mr. Toure. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Toure?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. We are enclosed and we plan to return in 1 hour. Thank you.
Or less, I hope.
If it goes longer, we will come out to let the audience know.
No, that's just be patient. Have a seat. We're saying you will be going to this area for us. That doesn't include your phone. Does include your phone. Be patient. We'll have somebody come out and get you. I'm very patient. That's your opportunity to do. Just saying. We'll go back here and make sure.
This is what? Is that in Gordon?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, I believe there are chips in the closed session room.
I'm not chancing this. I found these in the bottom of my car. They might be 6 years old. This is mine.
No.
Yeah. And then I looked at the calendar and I'm like, oh, we're gonna go like Friday. Yeah, and I have a finance meeting, yeah, I may have to review it and figure out what. Carrie, I just thought about something. The finance agenda for December 2nd, doesn't, he's not changing. So doesn't that mean? But I think that means, so does that mean the agenda has to go out on Friday or Monday? I would think the agenda, well, Friday is, well, Friday. That's what I'm saying. No, because it's a Wednesday, so if you go out, you have to go out Monday, Monday before you get out. So that means for Ed committee on the second of 8:30, that means the agenda has to be posted that way on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. Okay, so we have to go on Monday for the Wednesday.
Wednesday, December 2nd?
Yeah.
But you know what? At the last, at the special, when we had the finance meeting for a special, now we're saying let's do Wednesday, Wednesday, December 2nd.
Right, but then he said to me, after the meeting, I asked him about it, he said, what's the date? No, that's gonna be fine, it's the next week of the month. So.
Okay, so it's gonna be December 2nd.
My understanding from him is it's gonna be the second, but when I look at the holiday, and then like this week, and the amount of stuff that they need to get done, again, I'm like, something's gotta give.
Okay, so we're talking about a committee, Ed committee meeting December 2nd in the morning. And a finance committee meeting December 2nd at 6:30. And we're talking that we have to have both of them posted at 8:30 and 6:30 respectively on that Monday when we come back. Okay. Well, yes, it does. But.
And I'm on the calendar to be building walkthroughs this Thursday, every day to go out. Or I can't, I can't be building walkthroughs. We got, and this is the church and tomorrow we got John Berkeley, we got Adam Council, then, you know,
Right.
Like, really?
Okay, so.
So I'm probably gonna be here till midnight on Monday for Thanksgiving and Tuesday.
I and I'm out.
Oh, and we had an all-day efficiency plan meeting on the 24th.
Laura's not here. Nate's got a meeting for essential and.
On the 24th?
On the 24th.
Nate already had a meeting from 9 to 3.
I know, this is from 8 to 8 o'clock.
8 to 8:30?
I don't know. How long it takes.
It doesn't sound like you think it's gonna take.
I have no
8:30.
idea. No, I don't. Ron happens on the meeting.
I'm just,
okay.
And like, and I guess, Dr. Apple said, we want this on the December meeting, and you can down 5 p.m. because I said to him earlier today, what are we gonna reprioritize?
Right.
So that this thing is done. And now, and I hate it when they, like now they say out here, and they may very well be open officially after January, but you put it out here now. So it's official now, that we're gonna be looking at it in December, and we are not looking at it in December because last month I think I had 6 things that were pushed
You pushed back to December.
And now I already have new things
that should be,
that will be in December. It's just, I mean, I'm gonna send agenda tomorrow. I'm gonna say, Okay, here's everything. Here's what passed in December. Hearing because my name was opportunity, so now we gotta do a lot more.
Right. Okay, so you're gonna be able to get that done tomorrow. At least you're the bones, the backbones of the finance meeting.
But I don't think he's gonna get, he's not going to, he's not gonna see our urgency. Hi, how are you?
Well, we're gonna discuss it to him, and he is going to call me tomorrow to talk about some things, and so I will start with him. You have to get
Can I log into my share drive?
Sure.
This is in my
Google,
computer.
wait. Oh, you're not on Google Drive? Well, then I don't think so.
Juan's
You're
here.
Google Drive. So Laura.
Mr. Live. Yeah, he's got it right now. I'm about to do it right now.
Okay. So Laura, with your finance agenda.
If I can access my files, I should be able to do it.
So Laura, if you can, do you know the contact? Okay. Yeah, if you can, I mean, I'm not going anywhere with this day person, but I have a pregnant daughter and an engaged daughter who are taking up the majority of my time these days. So, but I mean, if we at least have the agenda items, I can try to stress the urgency for Dr. Hall and the Chambers to send their approval. And we
I need you to come up here.
we can throw
left hand. I need access.
supporting documents in there, after the fact. Good, okay.
Can you show me how to access my hard, my share drive?
Hang on, let me see that.
This is not my computer. This is Mrs. Destro's computer.
Your
My share drive.
So then you have to log in yourself.
What, is that gonna mess up her
Yeah.
stuff?
Well, if she has something saved on there, you have to log in as.
This is a, she didn't have anything saved. She just has to go back there.
Okay. Yeah, just log in.
So then, so I can just log out and then realize I know and then she can just.
And then click on the start and see what the first time is. Just push it.
Your house to perform a service, I should be insured for anything that happens. Right, use it, right, but you should let the finance. Yeah, right. I know, right? I mean, just gotta wait. You're in your own time. I don't like it because it gives me very bad things. Let's see if I don't like it. If it's I was getting myself together. But I need to open it. I need to open the office. I don't want, so, but do I have to always open it in the Google Drive? 'Cause I don't want to do that. But I don't want to. Like if you're telling me that that you can sync it and I can save it on my S drive and it'll automatically go to Google as backup, I'm fine with that. But I don't want Google to be my primary job. Yeah, I don't want that. What did I say I was going to do?
You know, a little ball of energy.
That's why it's a good thing it doesn't.
I just need to know.
She's gonna need to put in her, unless you're about to log in as her.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know my line.
I'm just trying to hurry up and send my stuff, so I can log off. I can do that.
But you still need it.
Why do I need it?
I thought you still needed to.
No, I have my stuff hard copy. I don't trust technology. No, I forgot mine. I need you to log back in as yourself, and I'm sorry that I'm still sitting here. I don't care.
Just go to make yourself. Yes, sir.
You know what? I'm gonna leave this.
Well, at least I got my to-do list down to 3 pages instead of 103. Is that just logging me off or is that logging her and everybody off?
No, just you.
No, it's dead. Now it's off.
No.
Oh, you're right. Let's see. She should be able to log back in. But that's not her name.
Yeah.
So everybody has the same one?
All of them.
Okay. I believe, and you should be good to go.
How do they do it when
When I
have
had
it
to
set
log
up?
in. I had
No,
to
but,
log in.
but if they're set up when we come here, so what password, is there like a generic password that they use? So I've never logged into the computer before.
She doesn't know the password. They're usually
I've never
already
logged into to this before.
Really? I logged in as me.
No. Well, it's just for these computers. On Saturday, right? But Friday night we will have. Oh, 6.
What is Jennifer? Is this you?
Yeah, I don't know how the heck that got all the way over there. Somebody was sitting in my chair.
I was trying to be productive.
Okay. Oh, they closed our. Why did they close our?
Juan came and sat there and closed it because he said,
Thank you.
"Is it? See if you can get back on."
Calling you tomorrow.
You know the password?
No, I mean, is it?
Juan.
Good night.
And you're gonna send me an email with some
I'm not going to
information
accept the
that you worked
resignation
on
of the teacher. I'm just not.
regarding insurance?
No, we talked about it.
How many? They'll have 4 to do it, right? They'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to do it. Hey, FYI, I'm just telling you, I don't feel good. I know it's technical, but I'm just
Okay, can I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray, second by Mrs. Galbraith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are out of closed session.
Miss Sanders. Is she up?
Yes.
Action reports. Human Resources, Mr. Neal. Oh my God. Where are we at now?
Microphone works. Okay. The first item is the personnel report, which is recommended for approval. It includes the certified staff leave of absences of Denise Kranzer, Holly Olson, and Matthew Wagner. Certified staff return from leave of absence of Denise Kranzer, Certified staff intent to retire of Joanne Rosbach. Certified staff resignations of Demetra Chiganos, Michelle Gallardo, and Nicole Treshak. Educational support staff employment for Elizabeth Ackerman, Irma Little, Allison Lynch, Sierra Porch, and Mandy Knack. Educational support staff reassignment for Mark Hentz. Educational support staff leave of absence for Christina Cobbins, Deidre Davis, Richard Kidd, Jennifer Lisowski, Renee Lopez, Mary Roche, and Tara Wagner. Educational support staff return from leave of absence of Lisa Aiello, Christina Cobbins, and Mary Roche. And finally, educational support staff resignations of Adam Davis and Ebony Spence. So once again, this is recommended for approval.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report as it states?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo. Any questions? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Teray,
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
and Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall.
Aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the resignation of a non-tenured teacher?
If I may, just briefly, we do have to say the name in the motion. Yes, we do. Yes.
Written down.
May I have a motion to approve the resignation of Vanessa Wyatt?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Teray,
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith, aye. Mr. Brown,
Nay.
Secretary's nay. Dr. Hall.
I'm sorry. Aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve dismissal of Scott Bodie?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray,
Second.
second by Mrs. Galbraith. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Galbraith, aye. Mrs. Gasparo,
Aye.
Mr. Teray,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Secretary's aye, and Dr. Hall.
Aye. Next, action reports, student affairs. This is Dr. Spence, I'm sorry.
Thank you. The district is in receipt of renewal contracts for the 2016-2017 custom student handbook planners for Crete Monee High School and Crete Monee Middle School. The printing company, School Date Books, has created the customized student handbooks for the district for at least the past 4 years. Crete Monee High School and Crete Monee Middle School are requesting to renew the contract for the 2016-2017 school year. Copies of the contracts are attached in the board packet. The financial impact is for the high school, for 2,000 handbooks, the cost is $8,568. And for the middle school, which will include the sixth grade edition, the cost would be $5,925.15 for a combined total of $14,493.15. It is our recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the current contract with School Date Books, but for 1 year. In the past, we've done 3-year contracts, but we would do just for the 2016-2017 school year.
Current cost of, was it 12,000 you told me last?
Let me make the motion, Mrs. Sanders.
Sorry.
I have a motion to approve 2016-17 student handbook contract renewal.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Galbraith,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or questions?
Didn't we have problems with the
Yeah.
handbooks this year? Timing and errors in them?
I'm not aware of errors, but timing. The handbooks were not, the material for it was not sent to the printer in time, so school date books could not do the high school's handbooks. We had to go with a different company, a local company, Andrews Printing. This year, we would go with school date books again. It's at a lower cost than it was in the previous years.
So this is not the company we used last year?
Not for the high school. For the handbooks for 2015, 2016, it was Andrews Printing.
But we had contracted to use this one, right?
Yes, but we did not get the mock-up to them in time, so they couldn't do it for us.
So did we have to pay them?
No.
And did we, since this is well over the bid amount, did we bid this out? Did we check with other printers? And for example, Andrews is not necessarily negligent. We were, as a result of not getting the information, did we check what pricing they offered? I think we used them, Terry, right, for our business cards and district. So what kind of arrangement would we have had?
Well, I had left this to be presented to the Finance Committee meeting that I was absent. I didn't attend that meeting last week. My request at that time was to either put it out for a bid because it was over $5,000 or to approve this current one. The board would have the choice to do either one.
And in that finance meeting, I talked to the finance committee and I asked them to allow us to do this for one more year before we put it out to
That was
make sure.
after I left.
Oh,
I went back to work.
Okay, yeah, that was after you left. To allow us to move forward with this, to finish it for this year, and that we would make sure we went through the bidding process next year. We didn't want to get into a situation which caused the issue last year where our timing and the information that we got out from the high school and the other schools caused us to not get the information in on time and have to pay a higher price.
So you guys just made that decision?
No, we bought it to,
And so you're saying, he's saying then the remaining members of the finance committee agreed that they would just not bid this, it would just go.
for the remainder of this year, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't as blunt as that. But that's
I mean, it is what it is.
It was communicated, looking at all things being considered, not so much the monetary, but the single source to get us a better line of a good product during this time period. Like bidding it out, we didn't think at that point that it would add value to the process.
So why didn't you guys just say it's the recommendation of the finance?
That's what it
committee?
was.
Okay.
We didn't take action. We didn't vote. Everything that comes from the
I mean,
finance
because it
committee
just,
is a
that's not the way it
recommendation.
looks right now, and it seems substantially high, and we're in the business, I thought, of saving some money, so we're not in the same situation.
The question
we
was
were in.
asked about the price, and I think we were just a little bit over the previous years.
But I just feel like we're not in the same situation, for one. The reason that the books were delayed is because we made adjustments, changes. There were a lot of things that were done. So that shouldn't be the case this year. We agreed that every building has similar policies I mean, we've gone through so much to ensure that we wouldn't have to. It's a matter of just sending the book. I mean, you guys have made the decision, but
No, it wasn't a decision, the recommendation.
Well, the recommendation.
And then that's why. it
To
comes
allow
the
us to
full
bring it
board.
to the full board.
Okay.
Monica, can you verify what's the normal time frame to put in the order? Is it around now?
October.
Basically. So
Yes.
basically requesting, because we're a little behind, let's just do this for next year and then we will bid out.
Right, we will not do a 3-year contract like we normally do with this company. We'll only be for next year. And then next year, we'll make sure we bid out and get other prices. And just as a point of clarification, it is slightly lower The price for the high school with school date books, the handbook is usually 10,000. Last year with Andrews, it was 12,000. That was just for the high school. This year, school date books for the 2016-17 school year, they're quoting us 8,000. So that is slightly lower than what they normally charge for it.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask that we make certain that somebody proofreads it before it goes to the printer.
Yes, each building is responsible for proofing their handbooks.
And actually, before it goes to the printer, we actually look at it as well, do we not?
We do?
Yeah.
Policy committee person.
We,
Okay.
no, I mean, it's.
I'm in.
It's for the board
Resident
for
editor.
approval.
Again, send all documents to Janine Galbraith.
The lady in the red.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Galbraith?
Aye.
Ms. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
No, this again, aye.
Mr. Teray?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Business. Oh, boy, 4. Okay. Dr. Williams?
Yes, I am turning this item over to Mr. Lyle.
What the heck is this?
Part of the job description to make sure that
Yes.
works.
All right, we're here. So this action item is for our student behavioral application. And basically what the student behavioral application is the service that we use to track behavioral data from the actual high school, such as tardies, absences, and other consequences for the actual schools. And most importantly, we use it for our ADA reports for the actual state. And this is actually synchronized with our current SIS, which is Skyward. So we're up for a renewal for our actual student behavioral services currently. And we were able to separate these into 2 separate actual action items. One was for the actual services and one was for the devices. For the services, we went out to look for competitive bids from 3 different companies, which was Live School and Encores. And unfortunately, the other actual companies did offer the services for student behavioral systems, but they did not synchronize with our Skyward platform. And in order to actually consider their actual bids, we would have to change our entire Skyward platform to suit their services. So the most responsible bid for the service would be to actually renew the Plastico/Hero for the actual system, which has been in place for the last 6 years. So it's my recommendation that we renew the actual contract with Plastico Hero at the cost of $9,300 and $9,350.
Did you say 6 or 16 years?
6 years, for the last 6 years.
How long is this contract?
6 years?
And you use these, where do you use this equipment?
This
it
is
just-
primarily used
It's part of our what?
just in the high school, I'm sorry. This
So
is just actually,
6,300 for, so that's if my memory, is this about this thing that they scan at the high school? It's like, they scan for their attendance and.
their tardies,
Tardies and
their
all that.
hall passes, and all other disciplinary consequences throughout the building.
Oh, wow. How much did you say?
It's for $9,350 for the service. We've used Plastico/Hero for the prior 6 years. We've been using it
Is
since
this
the
quote
building.
for 3 years?
This is just for a 1 year, for the 1 year renewal of the service.
Okay, because it says the program benefits include 3-year service. on the bottom left.
Well, he's-
Program benefits include 3-year service, next business day replacement, da-da-da-da. Am I misreading that? It's on the quote page, the very bottom left.
Page 107. The administration recommends that the
Is that
board
right?
9350. Oh, it says annual.
It's raining.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Oh, that's for the actual device portion. So that, the quote that you're looking at is actually, they combine both the devices and the services.
I thought we had two different, you said.
They are, but when Hero sent their actual quote, they're combined, so you'll see a total on that actual sheet for devices and for the actual units. So this is for, the services are just for a 1-year annual.
So 9350 is for the 1-year service,
Service.
and that service includes 3-year support? So you'd have 3-year support on a 1-year service contract? Am I confused, or am I not reading that right?
That's for the hardware.
Okay, so you're going to sign up with them for a year, but they're going to give you 3 years on the hardware?
No, we have two different quotes. Hero supplies us with hardware, and they also supply the application. So my first recommendation is just for the service. With that service, that's an annual fee of $93.50. Now, when we do the action items for the hardware, that's for a 3-year actual hardware guarantee of the actual hardware component. And that's just for the actual same.
Okay, but I guess I'm confused because you're saying you're getting a 1-year subscription, but this says hardware support included with your Hero subscription. So you're going to take a 1-year subscription, and the first thing it lists is 3-year service. So you're getting 3 years hardware service for a 1-year subscription? What are you getting 3 years and 1 year for? They don't match up.
The hardware is a completely different actual component. So there's.
So they're going to service your hardware whether you have a subscription or not?
They would service our hardware if we bought hardware from them. So they'll provide us with hardware and the actual applications, and if we bought both of them from Hero, they'll support it for 3 years.
Okay, even if you didn't renew your subscription?
Even if you didn't renew your subscription.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Director, what's the urgency in getting this approved tonight? Because I don't believe I've ever seen this come through the Finance Committee.
They have been actually doing this process through manually tracking the student data information, and it has become very time consuming, and also there's a lot of human error that's occurred with the mass uploads. And because we do depend on this for our ADA reports, it has been made a kind of a higher priority.
Hey, see, you got your sidekick there.
Yeah,
Would you like to speak, sir?
Yeah, you call a friend. Would you,
Try to get your-
Dr. Harden, would you
You got
step up, please,
Superman there. He's getting ready to
and
take
talk
off
a little
his-
bit about if this is a need? I mean, if it's not, make sure we know it's not, but if there's a need, tell me
Hold
about
on,
it.
what's the total price? What's the total price we're looking at here? I
Are
see
we
some
talking
numbers.
about the first item that we're talking about?
first
or
item
there's
action.
2 items.
The total together.
The total.
They're separate. There's a
9350 plus.
there's $93.50 for the services. That's one action item
Okay.
I'm recommending.
Okay.
And then for the actual devices, the highest responsible bid came in at,
You mean lowest responsible?
I'm sorry.
Lowest.
Lowest responsible
late.
bid came in at,
While he's looking that up, Maurice, if you look at the top of that quote, it says, quote, valid for 30 days, and it was quoted on 10/19, so we're at 30 days today.
Well, I think they need to go back and requote.
Right. But don't know if we get the same quote, just letting you know.
Here's my spill on this. We kind of snuck one in here, in my opinion, with that price, without going through the Finance Committee meeting. And why that happened, I don't know. And now we're having a lot of discussions without, I hear one of our board members really drilling you guys on what's going on here when a lot of this should have been ironed out at the finance committee meeting. So this is the first time I'm seeing it, not so much tonight, but over the last couple of days, I did go through it. And I'm like, whoa, now I'm for sure this is something that did not come through the finance committee. And that's why I asked the question, what is the urgency? If we wait a month, other than it being expired, to quote.
Dr. Harden, before you answer, because the question is not to either one of them, Dr. Williams, who would, and/or Mr. Cunningham, who would have presented this to the finance committee? I understand you guys are going to say it's urgent. You need it in your building.
Well, even a call, talk to me, let me know as a chair, say what's going on. And then I can share it with my other committee members and say, hey, they trying to, this is a sense of urgency. We can't get it in, and get their buy-in on it as well. So, okay, Superman, go ahead. I mean,
You talk about the needs, and I'll
disrespect,
jump in.
Dr.
And I'll jump in on the other part.
All right.
Looking for an answer of why we didn't bring it in. I don't know if it was. Did we not have this on?
So our.
So that would be our. I'm sorry. Okay, and they didn't come through your office. Okay. They were not Dr. Ann said they were not submitted through her office. They came through mine. Okay. Go ahead.
Of course, these are important, but I am wise enough, been around long enough to see that the pleasure of the board right now is to hold off until it goes back to committee. We will continue to do this manually for the next month. We do have the luxury somewhat of it being a shortened month because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So we'll continue to do this manually as it goes back through the channels at the pleasure of the board. And then we will.
But that's why I asked the question, even though it's our policy that we look at and, contracts or bids in excess of $5,000, that it goes through the policy committee and we dish it out. I mean, I'm sorry, finance. Yeah, it's after midnight here. It's the next day. So, but I do want to give you a chance to let us know how important, is it a must that you get this done tonight? And you guys will take your punishment starting tomorrow.
Well, I don't think it was them that need the punishment.
I'm sorry.
I said, I don't know that it was you all that need the punishment.
Well, I'm just saying that I was in generalizing here.
But it's okay. I mean, ultimately, we're all trying to do the same thing, and that is to do what's best for the students and provide our students with the best. I'm looking for, it's midnight stuff that we can, supportive resources that we have to offer.
I only have one question for
Yes.
for Mr. Lyle. The bids range from 4,700 to 9,500 or 9,300.
Yes.
If we're going to delay a month, is there room here to talk to these other bidders and accomplish the same thing at a cheaper price? Or do we have such a huge amount of training and equipment to change out that it's not even feasible?
The reason why there's a disparity amongst the prices is because the other actual bidders that did supply their actual quotes would require us to change our entire SIS platform. So
SIS in English.
that's our
means-
Skyward where we.
You're saying student information
Student
platform.
information.
They wouldn't necessarily know that. You need to tell them that means hundreds of thousands of dollars at times.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. So these other two bids are really not even real bids. I mean,
They are the only competitive actual vendors that could speak on this platform. There's a proprietary type of arrangement between Plastico and Skyward that no other vendor has been able to match with the degree of being able to be compatible.
Okay, that clears it up.
The Hero is the name of the company that bought out Plastico Track.
$23,000 total.
Well, with the devices yes, a total of 23,000.
Okay.
But I
Was this in your
divided
bu-
them up. I divided them up because we were able to get a competitive range for the actual devices as opposed to the services. The devices, we were able to get actual apples for apples because they're all the same devices.
Can you cover this in your budget?
Yes.
So you can handle this expenditure in your budget, your present budget?
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait. No, I'm going to say no. No, I cannot.
Definitely bring it back to the finance
Okay.
committee.
And real quick, if I could tell you what these things do, because I'm not sure if we have a complete understanding as to what it is. Okay, so in our attendance office, if a student were to come in tardy or something of the sort, we have a scanner that looks very similar to what you'd see at a grocery store. Student scans their ID, instantly it uploads into the system that this kid's been tardy 3 times to third period, and then it can kick into our Skyward system, send a letter to the parent, do an automatic phone call to the parent, and print out the detention or the necessary intervention/consequence paperwork automatically. And when humans do it, there's a little bit more room for error, just because we have 1,600 kids and we have 9 periods a day. So the different amount of tardies that we have kind of fluctuates. And this communicates directly to our average daily attendance report. So, you know, absolute reporting accuracy is what this ensures. And as Mr. Lyle was explaining, I'm trying to speak regular people and not techie. We got these little gizmos that our deans or security guards can hold as well. And it's like a portable remote control looking thing where, hey, you're late to class. You don't have to walk all the way to attendance office. Come right here, beep, go to class. And it will print off a little ticket for the kid to get into class, which is a pass, but it also instantly communicates with the attendance office computer, and it has less movement around the school. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How many of those little mini scanners? What, 6?
There will be 6. There'll be enough for all of our academic areas, the auditorium area, and the PE area, so that the various deans or security can, less movement. Students don't have to, you know, it takes about 30 minutes to get from the hallway to the attendance office. That's a long trip. So we're trying to reduce that student. It's a 2-minute trip, but it takes students.
So this sounds like this is a known issue for a while ago.
It's something that the companies changed on us, and the software, or not the software, excuse me, the devices, the hardware changed on us. So they no longer support the hardware that we've had in place for the past 6 years.
When, at what point?
It was late summer. Okay. They don't necessarily work on our schedule of, hey, school starts in August, we need our stuff. It was a change that we found out about late summer.
And also, the actual platform is continuing to work on the old antiquated classical track application for a grace period that they're still trying to leverage with us, bartering that we actually do some type of actual renewal, and if we do not, then we have to change our platforms and take it another different direction and try to see what we want to do as far as not only with the student behavioral system, but also with our SIS application as well.
Security. We have our security located all throughout the building, you know, on each floor and in the areas, and they will have scanners, and a couple of the deans will have scanners as well. And at any given time throughout the building, at all time throughout the building, it would reduce the need for students to walk the building. If you're on A200 and Officer Harden is in A200, Officer Harden stands there, looks down and sees, okay, all you late kids, come here. Beep, 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 go to class. It's kind of a mixture between that and the students just know I'm late, let me go to the attendance office. And when that happens, like I said, when students do it on their own volition, it's a long trip, a longer trip than necessary. Depends, not necessary, but depends. I mean, tardies don't necessarily affect us financially, but truancy and students skipping class have a greater effect on us financially. I thought that was the bell.
So that 23,000 though, that you, I mean, ultimately, I think we have these financial impact, and with relationship to the discussion that's going to be had in the finance committee, is the amount of money that we hopefully will save and see as a result of this is substantial. I don't know where we are with our ADA improvements. I know we had improved over the last several years just with the different programs you have as far as ensuring, and most specifically knowing where kids are in the building at the 7, 10, or whatever hour that they start school. And I might add, just having passed through there a couple of times, whatever the system is that's current, you can have upwards of 25 kids piled up in that attendance office with that woman trying to scan each ID is very time consuming, and kids are out of class upwards of even more than 10 minutes or so.
Yes, ma'am. And it's also inefficient for the labor cost, because if the attendance clerks are scanning IDs, then they're not running the reports they need to run. And if they're manually inputting things, then it's a greater cost in labor than what's necessary. So but again, I understand what we will do is we will go back and we'll make sure over the next month we have all the I's dotted, T's crossed, so that when it comes back to the full board again, we may be able to do it with a little less discussion.
Did you just stick around just to support the director?
I have the biggest dog in this fight. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be 1,800, 1,600 kids here, and absolutely, I mean, just to make sure that whatever we need is advocated for as much as possible.
Okay. Is this technology only used in high school?
Yes.
So that's where we only have an issue?
Currently, it's
in
only,
high school?
it's only in the high school.
Everything else is up to par?
Everything else they're doing by the
So we don't-
attendance office. So the attendance office is, but they have considerably less numbers to account for.
Well,
than the high school.
we have eight or 900 students in the middle school, do we not?
I'm not sure what the total number is, but they're.
But that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
don't,
know.
and I don't think that they go
I don't know the
to
process.
the attendance office just for a tardy. Does the teachers keep track of them in the middle school?
However, the actual processes are for the other schools other than the high school, it's worked fairly well with them actually just manually updating the actual Skyward through a mass upload. Again, with the numbers that the high school has, it's just caused more of an issue trying to track that and doing mass uploads.
Well, I do ask, if you bring it back to the finance committee, review the extent of condition, see if we have the same issue for sure throughout the district. Okay, just for sure, just come back and just let us know that, for sure. I would just like to know, stated, okay?
All right.
That this is the only issue that we have. We reviewed the other areas. The equipment there is copacetic, is okay, and the issue is only here at the high school, and this is what's going to solve it.
Ms.
And-
Bragg, you teach at the 7th grade center, 8th grade. Do you take manual attendance or what? I'm sorry? Every hour. So you do it in Skyward, so that's moot. And the elementary schools, there's an attendance clerk at the attendance office who takes attendance. Is that correct?
I'm assuming that's the process.
I mean, that's all I've seen as
I'm-
a parent in this district. They don't have a system and the kids don't have an ID to scan.
I believe so. I can't attest to that, but I believe that is the process.
Okay. Yeah. And that's labor, but nevertheless, that's what it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, are we voting on this tonight? Are we,
No, he
we're
wants to go
going
back
to
to
remove
finance.
it? Yes, so we postpone Or we just want to remove it? Can I have a motion to remove items number C1 and, wait, no. Items 10C1 and 10C2 from the agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gasparo,
Second.
second by Mr. Teray. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Teray?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Sanders, aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye, thank you. Okay, item number 10C3, health insurance renewal.
Good evening. Included in your packet is a recommendation for the health insurance renewal, which actually includes a medical insurance renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield, as well as a dental renewal with Delta Dental. This item was discussed at the November Finance Committee meeting, at which time a recommendation to accept an 8-month renewal instead of a 12-month renewal was considered and discussed. The recommendation to renew for an 8-month time is to adjust our annual renewal date to better align with our budgeting cycle as well as our teacher pay schedule. An additional reason to adjust the renewal date is that our open enrollment period would be appropriately timed to coincide with the beginning of a new school year, with the start of new staff, and the annual wellness fair that is held on the first day of school. The proposed renewal for medical includes an increase of 12.3%, in large part due to an increase in the cost for regular maintenance prescription drugs. The 8-month cost is expected to be $3,847,227 for the year. As for the dental, I'm sorry, for the 8-month period, not for the year. As for the dental program is running well. We're actually at only 89% of our expected costs thus far in this year. So with that came a renewal that would have included a 7.6% decrease. We are recommending that any adjustments to the rates are held until the renewals are aligned with our budgeting calendar as well as the teacher schedule for several reasons. It would be better if we were to be aligned with any pay increases that may occur if there's going to be an increase to the medical benefits. Again, it also assists us with our budgeting process. For example, if we implemented an increase now, we're going to incur an increase for our medical coverage. I couldn't have budgeted for that because I didn't know what that was, and the budget was due in September. So it makes better sense for our fiscal calendar. So the recommendation again is to accept the health and dental renewal as presented for Blue Cross Blue Shield and Delta Dental for an 8-month term of January 1st, 2016 to August 31st, 2016. I'd be happy to address any questions from the board at this time.
Okay, any questions? We already kind of talked. Can I have a motion to approve health insurance renewal?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray,
Second.
second by Mrs. Gasparo. I already asked if there are questions. Secretary, please call the roll.
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. 2015
Thank you.
tax levy estimate.
I said thank you. Yes, the tax levy. Included in your packet is a recommendation on the estimated tax levy, an executive summary on that estimate, and other supporting documentation. The estimated levy was estimated in compliance with the Illinois School Code, the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, and Public Act 94-0976. The levy was estimated using the Consumer Price Index, projected property values from the county, and the previous year's tax extension. At the Finance Committee's recommendation, the tax levy includes an increase of 10% over the prior year, which would warrant the need for a public notice and a truth in taxation hearing to be held just prior to the December board meeting. So it is recommended at this time that the Board of Education accept the estimate of tax levy as presented and adopt the supporting resolution. It is also recommended that the board set a truth in taxation hearing just prior to the December board meeting. Be happy to address any questions from the board at this time regarding the tax levy estimate.
May I have a motion to approve the 2015 tax levy estimate?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teray,
Second.
second by Mrs. Galbraith. Any questions?
You know, Dr. Williams, after another review on the bond and interest, we are at just a little bit less than $10 million.
Yes, sir.
That went down.
Went down about $2 million. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You may recall
That's
from
the-
our, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You may recall from our previous discussions regarding our debt schedule that there would be a significant drop in 1 year, and then there would be 6% climbs for the next 8 years. This is the drop year.
That's the drop
So every year for the next, I want to say 8 years, there's a 6% increase each year to the levy, which will extend far beyond where we were last year.
Okay.
As it stands now with the current debt schedule.
Okay. I didn't, I don't have the histogram in front of me, but
And I
it
believe
just
it's.
stood out when I saw that 99
Yes,
for some
and I
reason.
believe that's a 15% decrease over the prior year.
Prior year. Good.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Aye.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
And Mr. Teray?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any old business?
Okay, I have one inquiry. I may need a little of your help, Mrs. Spence. Oh gosh, I apologize. Dr. Spence. A few months ago, in policy, and I hope you can recall this as well, Mr. Cunningham, we discussed specifically policies that we bring, that they will be articulated, and if they're brought to a vote, then of course it's a policy. So it's come to my attention by several who received documents in the mail regarding our Integris process as far as the waiting list and CSK. The discussion that we had was that we would ensure that we wouldn't put a hardship on parents to enforce a previous tactic of having parents certify and mail return cards to this office by a designated date. That it was our opinion and we agreed as a board that parents could come in through a walk-in process and ensure that their wishes, be it that they want to remain on the list for the CSK's waiting list. And apparently that's not the case, as is indicative of the letters that parents received last week that give them a deadline of November 30th. In addition, it does not give the option of bringing the documentation in. I need to know why we are reneging on what we have agreed to as a policy.
I kind of remember a conversation where we said we were going to stop doing that, I thought. Is that okay?
The, excuse me, yes, the policy was updated. I was aware of it, and I talked with my secretary today. As you know, she is new, and she simply took the letter from last year and sent it out. So it was not going back on anything we said. It was simply a mistake. The letter's been updated and saved for future years with the correct language in it.
Has another letter gone out to parents?
That's what
We can send another letter out to parents.
we need to send another letter out to parents and extend the date. And, and I think I hear you, Laura, saying that it's merely a error. But as I said to you, because when we brought it back to you the second time, it's been discussed in a 2-year time frame. And I think it's very important in the process because we already have an issue where people don't feel comfortable with the waiting list process and the integrity that takes place as a result of what happens in this in the CSK process. So I think this, as it was initially brought towards you guys, is people feel like this is a way to eliminate potential student entry into the school. So these little, as you indicated, error, and we understand human error, but we have to do something to mitigate that this is what we truly believe and that we will push to ensure happen. I was surprised to see it. And like I told you earlier, certainly upwards of, by the time I got home, we have at least 11 people that received these letters. So I'm just hopeful that, you guys are confirming that this is going forward a process that we will be sure to address, and it will be in writing as it already should be.
It is. It's in the policy.
Well, I know it's in the policy, but
It's in our
I
policy?
think about
It's in our board policy?
Yes, it is.
So this has happened over and over again, not so much this particular case, but where administrators or teachers or whatever have intentional or non-intentional went around the policy. So superintendent, I guess we put the ownership on you on this. The consequences are dire per se when a policy has been not followed, so to speak. So what level of insurance can you give us? You don't have to give us the answer tonight, to ensure when there's things out there that we need to, that we're asking for or whatever, your staff, that the policy is first looked at? Do we just go by memory, or what are the things that should drive your staff to look at the policy?
Policy should guide what we do daily.
Right.
And that's the expectation. My understanding here, and I'm just hearing about it now, is that a mistake was made. I cannot guarantee that we will not make mistakes, but I can guarantee that we will make corrections, and the proper corrections as we go through. And for people who are doing things wrong, we will hold them accountable.
And you know what I'd like to say, we every month approve new staff that come in, and we have to get them all acclimated to whatever policy or procedure or process that we have. So, this particular mistake, of course, does not have, grand repercussions. However, there could be one that does. So I urge strongly our administration or whoever, is receiving a new employee to make sure that they understand the process, procedure, policy, whatever it is, because this is their first time doing certain things. So I would think that, if we're telling the secretary to send something out, there'll be a conversation of the proper way, or, or this is the letter that you use. Oops, this is the wrong one. I don't know, but I would think, that would be the case. And again, it's not a, grand mistake, but it's the process. Like Mr. Brown said, this isn't the first time. And we don't want to create an environment where people feel that it's okay to ignore a policy, or it's okay to ignore a procedure, or, if I do, then, oh, well, and I'm not saying that's being created, but we just need to make sure that policy is being followed. We don't get to choose whether we're going to follow the policy or not. So,
and I guess
I just know we
oh,
need
go
to
ahead.
make sure our new staff is properly acclimated
And I
and
guess
trained.
in reference to a brief conversation I had with Mrs. Hirsch this morning about it, not specific to this circumstance, but there, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when we leave committee meetings and there's a discussion had, so in the case of this, Laura's not in the policy committee is what she indicated to me. So of course, how is the information matriculated to her? Now I'm taking full ownership because Mrs. Spence, we got up, we know Laura wasn't in that meeting that day. I don't know if you can remember, Janine, but you were there. And the point is, who is going to be responsible for making sure that it gets to the designated people? Because technically that's where the initial error happened or took place. Something came out of policy and here's what it is, migrated into your files, send it to your employees. If you don't know that it has changed, we happen to know that day because left out of the policy meeting, and actually your new secretary was aware of it from the standpoint of that's going to be something I'm going to have to do. Because did you guys send these out early this time? Is it always like November? Okay, so it was what? Mrs. Spence, July,
Yes.
August. So at that point, maybe not even, I think she came on that same month or so. Roughly.
She started first day of.
Right, so
the
this
new year.
wasn't relevant, but of course, it was relevant in our meeting. So if we just had a process, and I don't think this is really just solely isolated to policy, any subcommittees, I've heard of many things that you guys have discussed in education, our requirements were, because I think we just get delayed in accomplishing tasks that we have believed were set apart. We sat in policy specifically and thought things were, we already created that. Terry, don't you remember? And we're getting farther and farther behind when we believe that something is already in place and we don't find out about it until it becomes a nightmare via issue and correspondence to board members saying, I thought you guys had a situation where I could drop my card off. Well, we do. Well, maybe we don't because this letter has come to the constituents.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I am responsible, and I will come up with a way to report that, whether that be a meeting that we have or that we go back to what we originally had where all of us are at all meetings. We'll find a
Or
solution.
you have your cabinet. Well, I don't want to tell you how to run your
Yeah,
cabinet.
I'll get that.
I would like to make 2 requests. One, when we resend that letter out, we make it very clear that this is a correction to the letter that was dated such and such. Be very clear that it's a correction to, and maybe you put the correction wording in a different color or something so they realize what the correction is. And number 2, can we get it on the website?
Yeah, I already wrote that down. We have had people drop their cards off. I mean, we have had that. Haven't had, I know Mrs. Sanders was contacted. I haven't had anybody call us, but, we have, as I think we did discuss probably a couple of months ago, we have had people that do drop them off and have historically, and we do take them. But we'll get that out tomorrow.
And we need to make sure everybody knows and understands they can do that.
We just don't want to put an undue burden on a parent
Mhm.
to have to go to the post office and pay for certified mail just to send something into the school district. And if memory serves me correctly, I think it was something where people were saying they sent theirs in and you didn't have it or something as to why
Well,
it was
that's why
certified mail.
that's why the certified was in there too, so that it was actually, as I understood when it was first put into place, that it was a way for the parent to have proof that they actually
Guaranteed,
turned
right.
it in case something happened.
But again, coming to the district office, maybe signing off on something, I don't know, you have it right there.
You have it. It's, I mean, but I guess it's not widely known. When you walk in, it was on at least Crystal Schmidt's desk when she was here that I'm taking receipt of
comes and gets
this
it,
item.
stamps
I mean, it was in place. It's just not obviously globally known throughout the district. And that's all we need is 10 or 11 people saying, hey, what's going on? Because we're doing something underhanded or alleged to be doing something underhanded.
One last thing, what are we going to change the deadline to?
I think we need to be aware of what date you're going to put on this new
Well,
deadline.
we give, I think the letter said 10 or 14 days from.
I thought she said November 30th,
Right, but
so.
that's calculated on a 10 or 14, I can't remember if it was 10 days from the receipt or 14 days from the date the letter was sent. So whatever that
Well,
number is.
must be at least 14 because
So we'll just,
if they're
it'll be
just getting
14
them.
days from
Okay.
whenever the new letter is
Just
sent.
so we're clear in case somebody asks us, we know what that new date would be.
Can I ask, so when you say a family doesn't turn theirs in, do you all follow up?
We
with them
call.
And call?
We call.
If something could happen with the mail or,
Right.
or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any new business?
Yes, ma'am, I have something fairly quick. We were, as a board and as administration, invited to participate in an IEA training of cultural competency. And I wanted to make sure I talked to you about it. Cultural competency is, sometimes it's described as sensitivity training, but it's an opportunity to get together and learn about cultures, how they affect education. And the Illinois Education Association is having the training on the 3rd of December. And I will be forwarding you a link in case you are interested in going. I will have myself there and probably at least a cabinet member or two. And we'll be looking for a few building principals to go with us also. But we wanted to make sure you were invited to. It is going to, I was told it's going to be held in Rich, at Rich Township. But all of the information will be available to you as soon as you get the link. And if you would like to go, if you click in, it will get you your invitation and make sure that they know you're coming. No fee.
Oh.
I would also like to say that I recently met with State Representative Will Davis, who is actually the sponsor of the Senate Bill 100. He's the House of Representatives sponsor, and I expressed some concerns to him regarding the Senate bill and the level of understanding that I've gotten feedback in our community. And I did express to Mr. Cunningham that he says that he is willing to come to our district and hold a meeting to ask questions and educate our community on what the Senate bill is, how it will affect us once it goes into place. And he's more than willing to come out and do that. So he said all we need to do is to give his office some dates. And he's willing to do that for us, him and some of the other creators of the bill.
I think the last item is we're going to need a special meeting.
Before we say
Oh,
that,
I'm
I
sorry.
forgot to read this card, so it's new. Dear Crete Monee Board of Education and Administrators, no words could ever express our appreciation for the love and support you have shown to us after the passing of our dad and husband. We are deeply grateful. With love, the Rivera family.
We're going to need an additional board meeting, a special board meeting. And I was trying to find a date for us within the next 2.5 weeks. I know next week is gone. November 30th, is that available? It's a Monday.
I work.
For the purpose of,
For the purpose of discipline for an employee. Employee discipline. And we have a few other
I
items.
can do
too.
daytime, but not evening on that day.
30th?
30th, I'm asking. That's a Monday? That is
The
Monday?
30th.
Monday, 30 November.
Are you talking about
daytime or evening?
Well, I just got from either one. I'm trying to see who's available. Janine said she'd be available during the daytime, but not at nighttime.
Work during the day.
Okay. He's available both.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure I can be available either or.
I work during the day.
Mr. Brown, are you available?
After job number 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm available on midnight on the 30th.
So that would be nighttime, huh?
The first, 11:59.
Okay.
Yeah, evening.
Okay. Mrs. Sanders, would you be available, ma'am?
I have to be.
Evening or daytime preferred? You'll
What
be here.
time in the daytime? Early?
I mean, we've done
Can you
it.
come early?
Anytime, I go to work at 4 o'clock, so anytime
So I
before
can still
that.
go back to my job?
Jen works during the day.
Jennifer wasn't available during.
Is that the only day we can do it? Is that
No,
Monday?
no, that was my first. I mean, if we need to move to another day because of the time or something or availability.
I work 5 days a
We
week,
can look at it.
so it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll do what I can to be here. I mean,
What can you-
It's best for the majority of people. I mean,
They were trying to find another date. Jennifer can't make it during the daytime.
well, I mean, I work 5 days a week, so,
It doesn't matter which day I pick.
I mean, I'll, if it's best for the most people, I'll,
Okay.
you know, same thing I always say, I'll do the best that I possibly can to be here, so.
Okay. If we did,
Is there a particular time you'd like to get back in between?
Well, that would be on Thursdays, but you're also getting into, that's the last, that Thursday would be the 3rd, that's the last week of school before finals, so there's no way I can skip my tutoring sessions on that day. But you just, I mean, whatever's best for the majority of the people. That is my lunch break. Yeah.
I'm just looking for a date.
I don't know.
How many? Okay, so it's how many minutes? An hour?
Closed session.
Okay, so
I will send out a note to the Board of Education with some dates best for you guys. I was just trying to see if, while we were here, if we could get it done.
we need to get it done.
I'd
We
love
can
to.
schedule it. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's schedule it. What are
I
you
can be
saying,
here.
Brown? Did you come up with a date? So he says he's open.
You can do the 30th? The
Oh,
3rd
say-
evening? 30th evening? All
And
right,
Janine, you
30th.
said no evening?
And Janine said no evening.
Can't take any more days off. Unless you
And-
do
oh,
it
and
at 8 o'clock.
And so no other days, Mr. Cunningham?
No, we have.
You do it at
we
8
can go
o'clock
to
at night, I can make it.
Yeah, that's what I need to do.
8 o'clock?
Unless you're gonna pay me for mine.
No, ma'am.
And so, when did we say?
First or second, or just, no, we have the Education Committee meeting and Finance Committee meeting on the 2nd. The first unavailable all day.
I can do evening on
The
Thursday.
3rd, that Thursday. Yeah, we're unavailable all day on the, unavailable all day on the 1st.
So Ms. Gelb,
I can do Tuesday and Tuesday and Thursday evenings I can do.
Okay. Thursday evening was the IEA training that I just invited you
Right,
guys.
but Tuesday, the 1st would work
Tuesday
for
the
me.
1st, we're not available.
Not at night?
No. The
Well, am I the
7th?
only one missing from the 30th?
You're not, I thought you guys were.
Can everybody else do the 30th?
Yeah, everybody else was really kind of there.
What's tomorrow, Wednesday? Let me go to work tomorrow and see if I can find somebody to work for me.
Okay, so
You say you can do the evening?
she's gonna,
Oh, okay. Everybody.
what's a good time for the evening? Are we talking 5:30 or 6:30?
Oh, I can do
5:30?
any time at night.
Okay.
8 o'clock.
Earlier, 5:30 is better? 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock I can get.
Did she say 8? Oh, that's when you get off?
I could be off at 8, yeah, with no problem, but 4, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have to go to work at 4?
Why, can you guys meet at 3:30? I could maybe ask them if I come in a little late, 4:30. Could we do it in an hour?
On Monday? Jennifer can come anytime on Monday.
No, at night.
At night.
After like 3 o'clock.
After 3. Okay.
Leave it at night, let me see if I can get a.
So what about 3?
Fill in.
That's a whole hour.
Hey, want to say 4:30 or 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock on Monday. She said she's going to work on it from.
Oh, you're gonna
She's
work
going to
on
work on it.
So,
5 o'clock.
oh, you say 5?
4:30. Okay, 4:30 PM. And I will send out a notice.
Sir, where will that meeting be held?
That meeting will be held at the district office as of now, tentatively.
And what's the estimated length of time?
4:30.
When you said an hour wouldn't be enough?
Let's estimate it at 2.5.
Very. Oops.
All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Move. So moved.
Move.
Well, and is anybody going to second it?
Pick whatever name you want.
Third.
Moved by Mrs. Gasparo.
No second.
Second by Mr.
Did anybody
Teray.
ever second it?
Yeah.
Who did?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
I
Oh,
second.
Mr. Teray.
Oh.
And then here you go. Okay.